Hello to all my dear followers. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the second season of What If Naruto Fell in Love with Tenten. I'm leaving a little card above with the link to the first season. I'm also reminding you that the What If Naruto Fell in Love with Conan series has already ended, with 3 seasons on the channel. Now I ask for your like and subscription, and let's begin.
The Kiri genin have been dealt with. Kurenai informed her jonin companions, sparing a glance towards Naruto and small army of shadow clones that were busy burying the massacred villagers and checking for survivors while the jonin talked. Until someone dispels the genjutsu there under, they'll be seeing dozens of different variations on the attack. It should be a day or two before any Kiri ninjas with sufficient skill to break the genjutsu arrive, and by that time they will have seen their jonin sensu killed several times by ninja and rogue ninja from every single village in existence and half a dozen I invented. Not even a Yamanaka could sort out which version of the attack was the truth and which were fabrications. I also added a few changes of perspective that should hopefully enlighten the genin as to why committing genocide is a bad thing to do. Well done, Kurenai. Guy told the genjutsu specialist. I don't suppose. My 1,000 memories jutsu wouldn't have worked on a jonin. Kurenai declared, shaking your head. At least, not with any certainty. Most jonin would be able to break the genjutsu before they grew too disoriented by the conflicting versions of events, so they would still be able to separate the genjutsu from the reality. The woman glanced towards Naruto's army of shadow clones, and then declared. Of course, if Naruto has his way, all this secrecy is going to be rather moot. This will just be the first of many battles to come, and that jonin will only be the first Kiri ninja to die at Konoha's hands. Do we care that the jonin died? Kakashi asked his companions bluntly. Certainly there would be all sorts of trouble if the truth ever came out, but I'm not really the slightest bit upset that someone who was responsible for the murder of an entire village full of innocent people is dead. Naruto's actions were certainly impulsive and short-sighted, but can either of you honestly say that what he did was wrong? He avenged the deaths of many innocent people. The odd-eyed jonin shrugged, and then added. None of us were in any rush to stop him during the actual fight either. Kakashi is correct. Guy agreed. These ninja killed many innocent people, even children. If we had arrived 5 minutes sooner, we most certainly would not have simply remained hidden and watched as innocent lives came to an end right in front of us, even if intervening to stop it would cause difficulties between Konoha and Kiri. In all honesty, I did not stop Naruto because he did what I myself wished to do in my heart. Perhaps Naruto's youthful idealism allowed him to see what was truly important about the situation, while our experience with the ways of ninja world left us too wary of practical concerns to perceive the moral issues that were at stake. The other 2 jonin took a moment to decipher Guy's words, and then Kurenai spoke up once more. Guy, Kakashi, I am worried about Naruto. He will not simply let the matter go and leave water country. He swore an oath to take down the current Mizukage, and I believe he is quite serious about it. I doubt he would leave voluntarily, and using force to make him return to Konoha against his will would tarnish his loyalty to the village. It would also be pointless. From what I know of his personality, he would likely return here at the first opportunity. We will have to reason with him if we want to withdraw from water country without further troubles. The other 2 jonin nodded in agreement with Kurenai's analysis. We were sent to negotiate an agreement with the Mizukage to obtain training for Naruto, and instead we have killed a Kiri jonin, captured 3 genin, and now Naruto wants to lead a revolution against the Mizukage. Guy summarized. Our original mission is no longer B, and after everything that we have learned it is indisputable that the Mizukage would not be a suitable instructor for Naruto even if he were willing to teach the boy. The Hokage would never approve of Naruto being trained by an insane mass murderer. After a few moments of heavy silence, Kakashi spoke. Do the 2 of you find it curious that the Hokage sent 3 of his best jonin on this mission rather than including any trained diplomats and negotiators? Naruto's safety is of importance to the village, but there was no reason to dispatch 3 ninjas of our level unless he believed a battle with an extremely dangerous opponent was a distinct possibility. What are you saying, Kakashi? Guy asked curiously. If the 3 of us really wanted to kill the Mizukage, we would stand a very good chance at pulling it off, wouldn't we? Kakashi pointed out. Now, if I realize this, it seems to me like the Hokage might know that too, and also probably knew that Naruto would react in a way that would force a confrontation with Kiri when he learned how bad things are in water country. You think that the true purpose of our mission was never to secure training for Naruto, but to assassinate the Mizukage? Kurenai asked. Oh, I don't think I could say that with anything that extreme with any degree of certainty. Kakashi responded. But it does seem like the Hokage picked a team that could kill the Mizukage if their completely innocent diplomatic mission went horribly wrong halfway through, then included a kid with a reputation for being a bit of an impulsive loose cannon on this diplomatic mission. Kakashi shrugged. It might not be an assassination mission, but the Hokage did create a set of circumstances that could easily lead to the Mizukage's death. It wouldn't be the first time the Hokage sent a team out on a mission without telling them all the facts. That kind of information is only given out on a need-to-know basis, and we don't need to know. Besides, this way if anybody asks, everyone involved can honestly say that the Hokage never ordered an assassination mission against the Mizukage. It's classic plausible deniability. Kakashi's scenario seems entirely possible. Guy said slowly. But as team leader, it is my responsibility to make the final decision on what we will do. Also, do not mention that theory to Naruto. It would encourage him to take action against the Mizukage without proper planning. His fires of youth burn quite brightly. After all, we are already concerned that Naruto might take unsanctioned action against Yagura. Even mentioning the possibility that an attack on Yagura was indirectly sanctioned by the Hokage will make it impossible to remove him from Water Country. What will your decision be, Guy? Kurenai asked. Naruto will oppose any course of action other than staying to fight against the Mizukage. I understand and empathize with his reasons, but I cannot help but be concerned about his well-being. I know Naruto is strong. With the power of the nine-tailed fox he is entirely capable of defeating ninja who are far above his usual level of skill, and even without he is an unusually capable genin. However, this mission might be more than he can handle, and Naruto might not accept that. If we encounter the Mizukage, Naruto will attempt to fight him, and that would be most unwise. Kurenai hesitated for a moment, and then added, I read the report on his encounter with the Two-Tails Jinchuriki when I was assigned to this mission. According to her, the more of the Nine-Tails power he uses, the weaker his control will become. If Naruto tries to fight the Mizukage, he might push himself too far, beyond what he can manage. I don't think any of us want that to happen. Yes, letting the nine-tailed fox go on a rampage through Water Country would be bad, especially since we'll probably be nearby when it happens. Kakashi agreed dryly. If we are planning to make a move against the Mizukage, we should get in touch with whoever's trying to overthrow the guy. Considering his policies, I think it's a pretty safe bet that everyone with a Kekii Genkai and most of the sane people would be interested in getting rid of him. Even if we're just heading back to Konoha, it might be a good idea to get in touch with them just so we'll have a better idea of what's going on here. True, but if there is some sort of rebellion, how would we get in contact with them? Kurenai asked uncertainly. I remember hearing that one of the 7 ninja swordsmen tried to overthrow the Mizukage several years ago. Do we know anything about him? Zabuza Momochi. Guy answered, recalling the reports he had read about Kiri's recent history as part of his preparation for the mission, complete with a promise to run 1,000 laps around Konoha if he forgot any of the details. According to the latest reports from Konoha's agents, Zabuza is currently serving as an enforcer for various crime lords to build up the funds for another attempt to overthrow the Mizukage. He is not a good option. His rebellion lost momentum and most of his followers lost hope after he spent several years in exile with no progress. Kisame Hashigake tried as well, but nobody has seen him in public for over a year, and from what I have heard he would not be much of an improvement on Yagura in any case. Guy shook his head. No, if we are going to have any interaction with the opposition to the Mizukage, we should find somebody who is filled with the spirit of youthfulness, not a former rebel who has lost hope or an immoral monster. Kakashi glanced at his self-proclaimed rival, briefly wondering what an appropriately youthful Mizukage would be like. The thought of a Mizukage who continually ranted about the joys youth and raised legions on new genin with identical bowl haircuts who shared his numerous odd obsession was more than a little traumatic. Guy or someone like him as a Kage, that's a scary thought. I don't think the world could survive an entire village full of little Guy clones. Just having Lee and Guy at the same time is a bit too much. Guy's head snapped up, and the man surreptitiously scanned the area. He could not see anything out of place, but years of experience and carefully honed instincts told the man that he was being watched. He quickly looked to the other 2 jonin and flicked his eyes to the line of bamboo surrounding the village. Both gave him the slightest of nods, and began scanning the area while making a strong effort to appear no more wary than they had been a few seconds ago. Somebody is watching us, but until we have a better idea of whether they are friend or foe we should not take any drastic action. Killing a potential ally or innocent bystander would be most unyouthful. Also, we need more information about the situation in Kiri, and making peaceful contact with the locals would help us accomplish that goal. Hey Guy-sensei. Naruto suddenly called from the middle of the group of clones engaged in burial duty. This guy's not dead. The boy quickly dispelled his clones, revealing a single Naruto crouching beside a badly wounded man who could easily have been mistaken for a corpse. The three jonin rushed to the boy's side, looking the wounded man Naruto had discovered over. He was relatively young, barely out of his teens, with light brown hair and a small scar that cut through the right side of his upper lip. A vicious kunai wound decorated the man's stomach, and from the fresh blood on Naruto's hands the boy had obviously just finished returning the disemboweled man's guts to their original location. Is there anything you can do for him? Naruto asked, concern clear in his voice. Basic first aid won't be enough for an injury like that, but I might be able to manage something. Kakashi tapped the headband that covered his Sharingan, and then explained. I've worked with medical ninjas before. Without all their knowledge of anatomy or their training in precise chakra control I can't do proper medical ninjutsu, but I can probably manage the equivalent of meatball surgery. It won't be pretty and I'll probably screw some things up in his body, but he'll have a chance of surviving. Do it. Guy confirmed. Any chance of survival is better than none, and he might know something that can help us. Kakashi's hands glowed green as he did his best to patch up the man's injuries with his copied medical ninjutsu. By the time the jonin finished his work the man's stomach was covered in horrific scar tissue and his navel seemed to have disappeared completely somewhere in the healing process, but at least he was alive and his guts were, presumably, back where they were supposed to be. Kakashi did not even want to think about how much of a mess he might have caused internally with his very crude medical ninjutsu, but it was better than leaving the man to bleed out. Wow, you're a crappy medical ninja, Kakashi-san. Naruto declared bluntly. Yeah. The jonin agreed. Like I said earlier, knowing how to perform medical ninjutsu doesn't do much good if you don't have all the medical training that goes with it. It's kind of hard to put a wounded person's body back together when you don't have much more than basic knowledge of anatomy. Kakashi shrugged and added, it's one of the things that makes the Sharingan's ability to copy jutsu less powerful than you might think. I might have copied over 1,000 different jutsus over the years, but there's a big difference between copying somebody's jutsu and really knowing all about how to use it properly. With a shrug, the man tossed a significant glacé at his recent and very unfortunate patient. He's probably going to survive, but I don't think he's going to wake up anytime soon and it would probably be a good idea to get him to a proper medic as soon as possible. The four Konoha shinobi stood in silence for a moment, and then Naruto spoke up. Hey Guy-sensei. The boy asked hesitantly. I know I probably wasn't supposed to kill that Kiri guy, even if he was an asshole who really deserved it after everything he did. I know you probably want to go back to Konoha now, and I'm probably gonna get into a lot of trouble since I told the Hokage I wouldn't cause any trouble and then I went and killed a Kiri ninja. So, I know I probably shouldn't be asking for any favors right now, but, you want to stay. Guy finished. You promised to stop Yagura from killing anybody else, and you intend to keep your promise, no matter what it costs you. Yeah. Naruto said, nodding in agreement. Stopping that bastard from killing any more people is more important to me than anything else right now. Even if it means I'm gonna get in trouble later, even if it means I get stuck cleaning sewers, or even tossed out of the ninja program completely, I can't just let this kind of thing happen. These people didn't deserve to die, and I can't just ignore that, even if it means Konoha and the Hokage are gonna be pissed at me. Even if ignoring this meant that I could be sure that I would become the next Hokage, it wouldn't be worth it. If I don't try to save these people now, then how can I ever deserve to be the next Hokage? Kid's got a point. A man's voice called out from the edge of the bamboo forest surrounding the small farming village. I'd always heard Konoha ninjas were weak and couldn't get the job done or make the sorts of hard choices ninjas need to make. Looks like I heard wrong. So, are you tired of watching us now? Kakashi called out in response, sounding rather bored. Naruto and Guy are being pretty serious right now, so if you're waiting for them to do something stupid and funny you'll probably be disappointed. You might as well just come out and talk to us face to face. Yeah, might as well. The man strode out of the woods, revealing himself to a grizzled Kiri rogue ninja in his late 30s whose most immediately notable feature was the patch covering his right eye, which had several prominently bulging veins surrounding it that seemed to gradually fade after a few moments. "You're Sharingan Kakashi, right?" the man asked, looking in Kakashi's direction. "Always hoped I might run into you one day, but I didn't expect it to be under these circumstances." "You can call me AO. Why must my eternal rival be more famous and well-known than I am? I am one win ahead of him in our continuing contest of ninja might. I am the mighty Guy, Konoha's beautiful green beast, master of taijutsu, and leader of this team," Guy announced. AO regarded the eccentric jonin for a moment, and then shrugged. "Never heard of you." The Kiri rogue stared at Naruto for a moment, and his one visible eye narrowed as he regarded the genin. "That kid's chakra network looked a lot like the Mizuki's, must be Konoha's Jinchuriki. I heard they had one about that age." "So," AO began, "I didn't see the actual fight, but between the dead and Genjutsu loyalist ninjas and the slaughtered village I can take a pretty good guess at what happened. You came across Yagura's pet killers murdering everyone that they could find, and you took them down, right?" "Essentially." Kurenai agreed. "What is your interest in this matter?" "I find it unlikely that a rogue ninja like you just happened to be traveling through the area and spotted us, and was then overcome with a sudden need to socialize. My eyesight's above average, so I saw the lot of you from quite a ways off," AO declared, smirking as though he was privy to a private joke that none of the Konoha ninjas would understand. "However, you're right that this meeting isn't entirely a coincidence. Considering the fact that you just killed one of his jonin, I think it's safe to assume you're no friends of Yagura's. Not sure why Konoha decided to get involved now, but we could use the help." The man grimaced and shook his head. "Anyway, we still have some sources within the Mizuki's loyalists, and when the word got out that this village was on his extermination list I tried to get here in time to warn them. Looks like I didn't pull it off, though at least you managed to save one of the guys with a Kekkei Genkai. Terumi-sama will be happy about that." "Terumi?" Guy repeated the name with a questioning tone. "She's been leading the opposition to Yagura for the last couple years, especially after Zabuza Momochi's try at a coup didn't work out," AO answered. "If you guys are here to deal with Yagura then you'll probably want to talk to Terumi-sama before doing anything else." "We should go talk to her, Guy-sensei," Naruto declared. "I mean, we gotta stop Yagura, and if there are other people who are trying to get rid of him too then shouldn't we be working with them?" Not even giving his sensei and commander a chance to respond, Naruto turned to Kurenai and Kakashi and declared, "Come on guys, let's go meet up with the plucky rebels so we can get rid of the evil overlord and save Water Country." Naruto looked over to AO and asked, "Hey, this Terumi chick's not a princess or something, is she? 'Cause that would be really awesome if she was, and that's exactly how these sorts of things are always supposed to be. What's with this kid? He's a Jinchuriki and he's obviously been very well trained if the number of clones he was using earlier is anything to judge by, not to mention the fact that at his age he's working alongside ninjas like Kakashi Hitaki, but now he's acting like a hyperactive brat instead of a trained killer. No, Terumi-sama is not a princess," AO answered, putting a slight emphasis on the honorific. "Kids these days, no respect for their elders. Well, hyperactive brat or not, Terumi-sama will probably want to see if we can get Konoha and their Jinchuriki to join the battle on our side. To beat Yagura we'll need all the help we can get." Guy nodded slowly, pondering his options. The timing of AO's arrival is rather convenient, but the reason he gave for being in this place at this time is certainly plausible. However, despite a strong explanation for his presence and my instinct's insistence that he is not unyouthful, it is possible he could be leading us into a trap. If that is the case, then there are measures that we can take to deal with that possibility. AO-san, Guy said. "We will go with you to meet your commander Terumi, but there will be one condition." "This condition being?" AO asked. "You have several explosive tags, right Naruto?" Guy asked, when the boy nodded. The jonin continued. "Key one of the tags to your chakra, and then give it to AO-san. And if he tries anything funny I blow him up, right?" Naruto asked for confirmation. That's probably not gonna happen though, I think he's being honest with us. The boy frowned and shrugged before adding. Never hurts to be careful though, and what guarantee do I have that you won't just blow me up whenever you happen to feel like it? Ao asked suspiciously. None. Kurenai answered simply. But you are the one asking us to follow you to an unknown location, you could be leading us into an ambush for all we know. If you will not accept Gai-san's condition for the meeting you can always walk away. Ao grimaced and reluctantly held out a hand to accept the explosive tag from Naruto. One condition of my own. The man added. The wounded villager, we have a medical ninja at our camp who can see to him. The man gave a slight smirk and added. I can see now why Sharingan Kakashi is a renowned warrior rather than a famous medic. I thought I did pretty well for someone with no medical ninja training. Kakashi grumbled. Dropping his voice low enough that only his fellow Konoha ninjas could hear him, the man deadpanned. Damn Ao-san and his hip attitude, he made me seem so uncool and ruined my awesome moment. Huh, did you say something Kakashi? Guy asked distractedly. I was too busy thinking about the mission to give my eternal rival my full attention, how unyouthful of me. Okay, that was just plain weird. Naruto observed. Kurenai nodded in agreement with the boy's sentiment. The journey through Kiri's fog-shrouded bamboo forests occurred in relative silence. The Konoha shinobi were not about to have a sensitive conversation where the mysterious Kiri rebel could overhear them, and Ao was not the type to socialize. After traveling for an hour and a half, their guide halted, seemingly in the middle of a completely unremarkable area. It's an impressive genjutsu. Kurenai declared after a moment. Tying genjutsu to a location is much more difficult than directly affecting human targets, and the skill level behind the genjutsu itself is quite advanced. I could certainly manage something on this level, but it wouldn't be easy, and keeping it up all the time would be a pain. They must have at least 2 genjutsu users close to my skill level. Kurenai glanced over at her comrades. Guy had just finished dispelling the genjutsu's effects on himself, finding the task a bit more difficult than usual while his arms were occupied carrying the wounded villager. Meanwhile Kakashi, Sharingan exposed, was staring at the genjutsu with interest, no doubt hoping to add yet another technique to his library of ninja skills. Naruto had his eyes closed in intense concentration. It seemed that the boy had been trying to break the genjutsu since Kurenai announced its presence, but it was beyond his ability. Kurenai took mercy on the genin and freed him from the illusion herself. Oh, thanks Kurenai-san. Naruto said, opening his eyes to discover that the bamboo forest had faded away and a small, ramshackle village was now before them. The village had the look of a hastily assembled camp, though judging from the degree of wear and tear some of the buildings had been in place for several years. A small population of rogue Kiri ninjas had been engaged in several different training exercises, but now they had all halted their previous tasks to stare at the newcomers from Konoha. What are you looking at? Ao growled at the nearest set of rogues staring at them. If you've got time to stare at us, one of you can take that injured man to the medics, and the rest of you can get back to work. The ninjas hastily complied. A volunteer took custody of the wounded villager from Guy, while the rest simply returned to their shuriken practice, though it was obvious that they were still intensely curious about the presence of foreign ninja in their midst. Looking back at the Konoha ninja, Ao said, "This way, we'll want to meet with Terumi-sama before some gossiper spreads the word about there being foreign ninjas here around the entire camp." The ninjas arrived outside one of the larger, slightly less ramshackle buildings in the rogues' camp, and Ao told them to wait outside while he spoke with the leader of the rebel movement. Naruto glanced around the camp curiously, and then whispered to his fellow Konoha ninjas. Man, this place is a dump. Then again, I guess since these guys are on the run and stuff they can't really set up a nice city, or else Yagura would have found them by now. They've probably had to move a couple times in the past. So, we are gonna help these guys, Guy-sensei. Guy hesitated. I will need to talk to Terumi-san before making any decisions. I do not approve of Yagura's actions, but until we know more about these rebels it would be foolish to commit ourselves to their cause. Naruto grimaced, but offered no further response. After a short wait Ao returned and held the hut's door open for them. Terumi-sama will see you now. The Konoha shinobi entered the shack and Ao went elsewhere. Inside, the ninjas found a rather Spartan but reasonably comfortable room. While it was still a basic wooden shack, some effort had been taken to turn it into a proper dwelling by tightening up the walls, adding a simple wood floor, and even installing a small glass window opposite from the shack's lone door. A large and incredibly detailed map of Water Country's main island dominated the room, spread out across the floor with a dozen or so simple chairs arrayed around it. Only one other person was in the room, a striking, voluptuous young woman in a simple but elegant blue dress, whose auburn hair did not even reach down to her shoulders, though she kept her bangs long enough to cover her right eye. The woman had some sort of book open on her lap, and Naruto realized with a sudden sense of shock that the book was open to a page with his picture on it. Upon closer inspection, the boy noticed that the opposite page bore his name and the words, Nine Tails Jinchuriki, in large print. Wow, never thought I'd be in somebody's bingo book when I'm still just a genin. Guess it makes sense though, bingo books are used to provide up-to-date information on important and dangerous foreign shinobi, and Jinchuriki seem like they're just about always a pretty big deal. Naruto was not particularly surprised when the woman quickly flipped to the entry for each of the other Konoha shinobi, before finally returning to Naruto's page once more. With a smile, the woman introduced herself. I am Mei Terumi, as Ao has no doubt told you, I am the current leader of the opposition to Yagura's rule. The woman's gaze turned to Kurenai. By way, Yuhi-san, congratulations on your recent promotion to full jonin. Mei's eyes shifted to Naruto, and her smile widened. I must confess, the entry on you in Kiri's bingo book did not mention what a cute boy you were, Naruto-kun. Naruto blushed brightly at the beautiful woman's words. She just said she thought I was cute. Really pretty women like her don't ever say stuff like that to a kid like me. The woman's smile remained firmly in place, and her attention was still fixed on Naruto. So tell me, Naruto-kun, what brings you and your friends to this country? Ao-san already told me quite a bit, but I think I would like to hear what you have to say, Naruto-kun. Before the overwhelmed boy could muster a response, Guy quickly cut in. I believe I can answer your question, Terumi-san. Naruto is not mature enough to deal with someone like this woman. The boy can handle a straight-up fight, but he is still too young to know what to do when a beautiful woman uses flirtation as a tool to distract and control him. It was most unyouthful of her to set her attention on the most vulnerable member of our group, but she is obviously seeking to establish that she is in a position of strength. Showing us that she has read our entries in Kiri's bingo book was intentional, and she obviously remains aware of affairs in the broader ninja world if she knows that Kurenai was only recently promoted from special jonin to full jonin. Certainly, Guy-san. The leader of the Kiri rogues readily agreed, her smile still firmly in place. If she was perturbed that her attempt to take advantage of Naruto's inexperience had been thwarted, she gave no indication of it. The Hokage dispatched us on a diplomatic mission to make contact with the Mizukage. Guy grimaced. At the time, we were not fully aware of how terrible the situation in Kiri had become. There were many rumors, but some of the rumors were so outlandish that they defied belief. Guy's eyes briefly flicked to Naruto before returning to Mei. When we arrived, we came across a village that the Mizukage ordered massacred to eliminate a Kekei Genkai that some of its inhabitants possessed. We did what we could to avenge and honor the dead, and managed to save the life of one villager. Then we were contacted by your man Ao, who led us here. I see. Mei replied, her constant smile rendering her expression unreadable. And why did the Hokage dispatch 3 of his jonin and Konoha's only Jinchuriki on a diplomatic mission? It seems rather, the women paused, and then drew out the final word, excessive. Hokage-sama had his reasons. Guy evaded the question. My eternal rival's suggestion that this was a double-blind assassination mission should not be mentioned to outsiders, and Terumi-san would almost certainly use it to force a commitment out of us to aid her cause. Naruto already wants to join these rebels, and I suspect Kakashi will want to act on his theory about the Hokage's true wishes for this mission, but as team leader the responsibility for any final decision rests with me. I will not reveal anything that could commit us to aiding these rebels without more information. Kages never take any action without a good reason. Mei agreed. But I must wonder, now that you have seen what the situation in Kiri is with your own eyes, what will you do? The beautiful woman's eyes turned to Naruto once more. I will not lie to you or attempt to save face. Kiri is in dire need of your help. Yagura was good ruler once, but those days are long in the past. Now he drenches Kiri in the blood of his own people. I know we are called Blood Mist Village in outside world due to his barbaric genin exam. The woman paused, and for the first time since they had met her, the smile constantly wore slipped for half a second. Many good people have died. We have tried to stop Yagura, but we simply do not have the strength or numbers at this time. The only chance Kiri has is if someone strong enough to oppose the Mizukage steps forward. Moments before Naruto could bolt to his feet and loudly declare his intention to help take down Yagura, a wave of windblown leaves suddenly drifted across his vision, and then he was suddenly, unexpectedly back at Ichiraku Ramen, enjoying a quick meal with Lee and Tenten. Huh? What the heck? Naruto frowned. I just got a genjutsu put on me, didn't I? Damn it, I suck at breaking genjutsu. Oh well, I might as well keep trying until Kurenai-san can free me. The boy grimaced and set to work trying to dispel the genjutsu from within. Kurenai caught the enscrolled Naruto Uzumaki and gently set the boy down on the floor, taking a moment to ensure that he would be in a reasonably comfortable position. Then, the Jonin turned to Mei and scowled. If you are quite done trying to manipulate Naruto-kun. Mei's smile did not slip in the slightest at the accusation. The boy is Jinchuriki to the strongest of all the tailed beasts. She said simply. Our rebellion against the Mizukage has been a long one, and I am not its first leader. The people of Kiri lost hope a long time ago. For all that we hate the madness of Yagura's rule, there are few who will stand up to him if they believe there is no hope of victory. Most of the people here have Kekii Genkai, or were close friends or family, those with bloodline abilities. The only people willing to fight Yagura now are those with nothing to lose. Mei's eyes turned to the unconscious boy. Naruto can change that. He represents new blood, and a new hope for the rebellion. The nine-tailed fox is the strongest of all the tailed beasts. He will be seen as someone strong enough to defeat Yagura in battle. Naruto is not strong enough to defeat the Mizukage. Guy declared grimly. He is strong, incredibly so, and in his own way the boy is both a natural genius and dedicated enough to make the most out of the potential his natural genius and the powers possessed by Jinchuriki presents, but he is still only a genin. This diplomatic mission of yours, Mei said suddenly. There is only one thing Kiri and Yagura have to offer that Konoha would be interested in, that would cause you to include a young Jinchuriki still in training with your diplomatic party. You wanted Yagura's secrets. You hoped he could train Naruto to control the nine-tailed fox as Yagura himself controls the three-tailed turtle. Mei's eyes drifted over Naruto once more. The boy's actual skill level is of secondary importance. Our current difficulties are largely a result of poor morale within the rebellion. Ever since Zabuza's coup failed, there is nobody who is seen as strong enough to fight Yagura. With two Kekii Genkai, I myself am strong enough to stand against him. But ever since the Kagaya clan's rebellion, Kekii Genkai have been hated and feared by many within Kiri. Mei's smile held the slightest hint of bitterness. Even if the alternative is Yagura's continued rule, many will hesitate to rally behind a rebel leader who possesses the bloodline curse, especially when she has two separate ones. Even among the people who believe that I could beat Yagura, it has taken me years to build up my current level of support. But they will rally behind Naruto? Kakashi asked. Why? Kiri does not have a reputation for trusting outsiders. Presentation will be important. Mei conceded. The presence of other Konoha ninja would be best left unmentioned, and if you intend to participate I would have to ask that you begin wearing masks and doing as much as possible to hide your affiliation with Konoha. But a slightly altered version of the truth should remain quite palatable to the people of Kiri in Naruto's case. Young Naruto comes to Kiri, seeking the renowned wisdom of the Mizukage, and instead finds murder and tyranny. The boy swears an oath on the blood of a murdered village to avenge their deaths, and boldly issues a challenge to the Mizukage himself. By the time my agents begin to spread the tale it should be quite stirring, and will not offend the more xenophobic inhabitants of Kiri. Naruto will be a symbol that Kiri can unify behind, and will represent a challenge that Yagura cannot afford to ignore. You want to use Naruto as a figurehead. Not only that, you plan to use him as bait to draw Yagura into battle at a time and place of your choosing. Kurenai realized. Yes. Mei admitted readily. I will do whatever is necessary to free Kiri from Yagura's rule and end this senseless bloodshed. Unfortunately, as long as Yagura remains in the Mizuki's tower within the heart of Kirigakure itself, attacking him will be impossible. We would have to carve our way through an army of bodyguards to reach him, and at the end we would face an all-out battle with Yagura himself. Zabuza already tried that course, and it was bloody failure. Even if we did reach Yagura, in his current state he would not hesitate to transform fully into the three-tailed turtle in the middle of the village. The collateral damage caused by a full-scale battle against a tailed beast in the middle of the city would be catastrophic. There is no point in ending Yagura's reign of terror if we kill most of the people living within Kirigakure in the process of saving it. So you use Naruto as bait to lure Yagura out into a relatively deserted area, and then ambush him? Guy shook his head. Yagura would be on the lookout for a trap. I do not expect to catch him off guard. Mei conceded. However, getting him out of the Mizuki's tower and Kirigakure is more important than achieving surprise. In addition, he will have to leave a garrison behind in Kirigakure itself or else risk either an uprising or a sneak attack on the city while he is away. He will bring many of own loyalists with him, but he will not have his full forces. It is the weakest position we can realistically hope to place him in. He will not tolerate an open challenge to his authority, or a potential nucleus of rebellion like Naruto. Yagura will attack with everything he can spare, and come out personally to destroy the boy. We can predict his response to our actions, and that makes him vulnerable. So, your plan is to lure him and probably about half of his ninja out of Kirigakure, then try to ambush him when he'll already be expecting a sneak attack. Kakashi declared. Yeah, there's no way that could possibly go wrong. I assume that since you came here for training, Naruto cannot perform a full transformation into the nine-tailed fox, correct? When Guy shook his head, Mei continued. Pity, that would have been quite useful. However, few ninjas truly understand Jinchuriki lore. I myself would never have done any research on the matter if not for the fact that I have been fighting one for years. The only standard most of Kiri's ninjas have to judge Jinchuriki by is what they know Yagura can do. A Genjutsu. Kurenai concluded. I know from the barrier around your camp that you have people skilled in the art. If you create an illusion of Naruto becoming the nine-tailed fox, most of Yagura's army would be terrified. They would also expect Yagura to immediately transform himself, and at that point, only the really brave and really stupid ninjas wouldn't run away. Even I wouldn't want to be anywhere near a fight between two-tailed beasts. Kakashi offered. Yagura won't fall for it though, and the Jonin would probably see through a genjutsu that you had to spread over so many people, but the genin and chunin would panic. By the time the illusion was dispelled and order was restored to that many frightened ninja, the fight with Yagura would already be over. You can also have your best fighters and assassins targeting any enemy commanders to prolong the chaos. As long as Yagura is beaten before his army pulls itself together, we will win. Mei assured the Konoha Jonin. Much of the loyalty he retains is driven by fear of his wrath and the belief of his men in Yagura's invincibility. Once Yagura is dead, both of those things will cease to be issues, and most of Kiri's shinobi will either join the rebellion or at least cease to stand in our way, and you would be the new Mizuki. Guy's gaze drifted to Naruto, still caught within Kurenai's genjutsu. Your plan will not work without Naruto, will it? Ah, so that is how it is. Mei's eyes hardened, but her smile remained firmly in place. Yes, a Jinchuriki like Naruto is by far the best challenger to present to Yagura. Any non-Jinchuriki with the skill to challenge Yagura would want the position of Mizuki for themselves, and I believe that I am the best candidate for the job. However, while Naruto allows me to accelerate my plans and save lives by acting against Yagura sooner than I would be able to without his help, he is not indispensable. Further, he is only one of the 8 other Jinchuriki in the world, any of whom would help me against Yagura. You're bluffing, and not doing a very good job of it. Kakashi announced in a bored, disinterested tone. None of the other Jinchuriki would help you. The 1 tails is too unstable, the 2, 4, 5, and 8 tails belong to villages that would take any request for help as a sign of weakness and immediately attack. The 7 tails is a recluse that avoids all human contact, and if the 6 tails was anywhere you could find, you would have already recruited him or mentioned him as a threat. The fact that you have never issued a request for aid from any of the other villages shows that you realize these facts. Naruto's arrival in Water Country is an opportunity you will never have again. Your knowledge of foreign Jinchuriki is impressive, but if you think you can use this internal disagreement as an opportunity to attack Kiri or turn it into a puppet of Konoha, I will kill you myself. Mei declared in an eerily cheerful voice. However, I suppose some minor concession in acknowledgement of Konoha's role in liberating Kiri from Yagura's rule would not be unacceptable. Wave Country has traditionally been within Kiri's sphere of influence. In exchange for Konoha's aid, I remove our interests from Wave Country and allow Konoha to take on any future contracts from that nation. Kiri has no control over Wave Country. Kurenai regarded the Kiri leader with a frown. The Gado Corporation is the dominant force there, and has been ever since Kiri became more focused on its internal conflicts than on maintaining its interests in other countries. Once the civil war against Yagura ends, I intend to reassert Kiri's traditional spheres of influence. Thugs and petty criminals cannot oppose the might of one of the 5 great shinobi villages. Removing the Gado Corporation from Wave Country would be a simple affair. A single genin squad would probably be enough to restore the state to Kiri's sphere of influence. Mei looked down at the enscrolled Konoha genin still snoozing on the floor of her headquarters. Given that your original purpose in coming to Kiri was to secure Yagura's knowledge of Jinchuriki lore, I could also forward copies of any relevant texts to Konoha as an indication of our gratitude. Such information would be appreciated. Guy temporized. I would also imagine that, since Konoha came to Kiri's aid in its greatest hour of need, Kiri would not be so unyouthful as to neglect Konoha should it ever require assistance. A reasonable expectation. Mei agreed. While Kiri would never submit to a foreign overlord, the people of Kiri do remember those who aid them, and will meet kindness and friendship with the same. It might even be possible to negotiate a trade agreement or other long-term arrangements to acknowledge the spirit of friendship that has brought our nations together as equals. So, if we help you kill Yagura, you'll give us Wave Country, access to Yagura's knowledge of Jinchuriki, you'll owe us a favor, and there's the possibility of trade or an alliance. Kakashi summarized. What do you guys think? Does that sound like a good deal? Seems fair enough to me. We would have to consult the Hokage for final approval. Guy's gaze shifted to Kakashi. It would probably be best if you dispatched Pakken with the message. I can have Ninkame transport him to the mainland. It has been a while since I have used my turtle summon for anything more serious than having Nankami do an occasional covert checkup on my students when they practice by themselves. Before Kakashi could respond, Kurenai preempted him. My Sparrow summon would be a better choice for carrying a message back to Konoha. Very well, I will leave that in your hands then. Guy declared. Glancing at his student, the Jonin added. You should probably also release the Genjutsu on Naruto and let him know what has happened. I am sure he will be filled with youthful joy to learn that we will be battling the Mizukichi. Hey, Kenta, you heard the rumors that been going around about the rebels? Saki asked eagerly, propping her booted feet up on the table and leaning back in her chair. The young woman wrapped her hands behind her head, casually running them through her close-cropped black hair. They've been getting pretty interesting lately. The woman glanced down at her shirt, and casually picked a piece of lint off the black fabric, then brushed off her pants, which were the same color. Not that the rumors are boring the rest of the time, but these were even more interesting than usual. There are always rumors about the rebels. Kenta glowering at the annoying woman he was stuck on guard duty with, and get your feet off the table, people eat there. It's unsanitary to put your dirty shoes on top of it, but if I don't have my feet on our table there's nowhere else to put them. Saki smirked at her companion. I mean, this crappy little guard tower is just 4 half walls, a roof, 2 chairs, and the table. I suppose you could always go get me another chair for my feet if it really bothers you that much. Or you could just sit down like a normal person. Kenta glanced at the woman speculatively, and then added. Or if you must always prop your feet up like that, you could at least start wearing a dress instead of always having pants on. Pervert. Saki snorted in a mixture of disgust and amusement. Anyway, I have to prop my feet up. Ever since my knees got a little melted a couple months back they get sore as hell if I don't keep them up. It's why I'm stuck in a dumb guard tower in a worthless outpost with an old washout like you instead of actually being somewhere useful doing real ninja work. I'm only 40, and lots of perfectly respectable ninjas are still genin. The Chunin exam is only for the best of the best. Kenta grumbled. I managed it, and I'm half your age. Saki shot back. Hell, if not for my stupid melty knees I would have made special jonin. and been on my way to full jonin by now. Kind of hard to be a taijutsu specialist when standing on my feet for more than 2 minutes causes crippling pain, though, more's the pity. Course, even half crippled I can still kick your. Saki grimaced, and amended her earlier statement. Well, I could beat the crap out of you, kicking would be a bad idea. The woman stretched her arms out and let out an exaggerated yawn. So, back to my original question, have you heard the rumors that some Jinchuriki kid has joined up with the rebels? They're stupid. Kenta grunted. The Six Tails hasn't been seen for a long time, no reason he'd show up now. I hate being stuck in this tower with Saki the stuck-up bitch for an entire shift, thinks she's so much better than me just because she had a bit of rank and prestige before she got tossed out here. She should know by now that nobody gives a shit that she used to be a good ninja, she's a crap one now, and crappy ninjas like us get tossed out in worthless little guard posts like this. Plus, she just will not shut up, no matter what I say or do. It almost makes me wish something would happen just so I wouldn't have to deal with her anymore. Geez, you're an idiot. Saki declared waspishly. The Jinchuriki they've got isn't Utakata, it's some kid that was from Konoha and ran off here on his own to try and steal Yagura-sama's knowledge, the 9 Tails Jinchuriki. That's 3 times as many tails as Yagura-sama's got, could be bad news. I mean, more tails means that the beast is stronger and nastier and more badass, and 9's a lot more than 3, the 9 tails is supposed to be the strongest out of all the tailed beasts, right? I heard the Jinchuriki kid's taken out, like, a dozen patrols a night for the last 3 nights, and that he can be in a dozen different places at the same time, so he can use a clone jutsu, big deal. Kenta grumbled. No, not like a clone jutsu, but like actual copies of the kid running all over the place. Saki corrected. Clones can't get too far away from the person who made them, but he's been seen at the same time in 2 different places on the opposite side of water country from each other. Plus he's got all kinds of crazy skills and jutsus, and he can use every single type of chakra nature manipulation, and he's got a bunch of different Kekkei Genkai, simply put his skills are just plain nuts. I heard Yagura-sama is planning to pull the patrols and sentries back to Kirigakure in order to build up a force to wipe out the Jinchuriki kid and the rest of the rebels. Saki frowned and scratched the back of her head with a single finger. What was that kid's name again anyway? Sumiko told me what it was earlier today when her patrol checked in. Saki searched her memory for the name. Nagato something Gorathar. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, remember it? The voice of a young man announced from the roof of the guard tower. Before either of the guards could react, a bright orange blur shot into the tower with a shout of, "Dynamic entry, Naruto style," and slammed a kick into Kenta's face, knocking the man staggering. Before Kenta could recover from the blow, Naruto threw a kunai that caught the 40-year-old genin in the throat, and Kenta slowly collapsed to the ground gasping for breath. Let me make a wild guess here. Saki said casually, not even bothering to rise from her chair or remove her feet from their position atop the table. You're Naruto Uzumaki, right? The boy nodded in response. Alright, I give up. Noting the boy's surprise at how quickly she surrendered, the Kiri ninja explained, you're not close enough for him to try sucker punching you, and you probably listened in on my talk with Washout there long enough to know that I can't exactly fight a mobile battle. Well, I could, but it would hurt a hell of a lot, and I really don't feel like going through all that pain and bother right now to avenge Mr. Dropout the dumbass. I mean, Kenta was an asshole, I would rather thank you for finally getting rid of him for me than try to pick a nasty, painful fight with you over it. Besides, I'm not dumb enough to want trouble with a Jinchuriki. I've seen what Yagura can do when he's pissed off, and you're supposed to be 3 times worse than he is. Saki shook her head. No thanks. Alright, but if I'm gonna let you live, then you have to take a message back to that turtle bastard for me. Naruto decided. The only reason we're hitting these isolated little outposts is to spread the word that I'm around and planning to kick Yagura's ass, so having her go back to Kirigakure and spread the word makes sense. Messages are good. Saki declared. I have to be alive to carry back a message, and as a general rule I like being alive, even if the crappy no-good knees do make life a lot less fun than it used to be. Alright, well, when you get back to Kirigakure and see Yagura, you tell him that I'm Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed fox, and I'm gonna stop him from hurting any more innocent people. You tell him I'm coming for him, and I'm gonna kick his sorry ass. Yeah, sure thing kid. Saki agreed readily. I'll have to spice it up a bit. What he actually said sounds a little corny. Maybe if I make the whole thing a little more dramatic I'll get a pay raise, and finally have enough money to get my damn knees fixed. His message delivered, Naruto turned about and bolted out of the tour, disappearing into Kiri's perpetual fog within seconds. Saki looked up the long road which wound its way to Kirigakure itself. It was just under a 2-hour walk from Saki's outpost to the ninja city. Walking all the way back to Kirigakure with my busted knees, it beats dying, but this is still gonna suck. Saki grumbled. 1 patrol and 3 guard outposts destroyed. Mei frowned down at the reports on last night's raids against Yagura's forces, and then looked over at Ao and the Konoha shinobi. That is quite a bit worse than the damage for the last 3 nights before this. Yagura must be starting to pull his people back in preparation an offensive against us. I have already informed my agents within Kirigakure to begin the next phase of the plan. I imagine that right now Yagura is being given the information that will guide him into the area I have chosen for our engagement. By this time Naruto-kun's reputation should be quite well established among the enemy. I assume you have continued to follow Hataki-san's suggestion that you spare the occasional ninja to spread tales of Naruto Uzumaki, challenger to the Mizukage and champion of Kiri's murdered innocents, correct? Yeah, that's what I've been doing, Terumi-san. Naruto confirmed. It's a good thing the Hokage decided to go along with the deal Gai-sensei worked out for us, cause I really think we're gonna kick ass and free your country from that Yagura bastard. Even if they've gotta be all secret and covert about it, Gai-sensei and Kakashi-san and Kurenai-san are being a big help with all of this. Kinda sucks that I'm not allowed to wear my Konoha headband while I'm doing all of this though. Naruto reached up and readjusted the slashed Kiri headband Mei had loaned him. Even after wearing it for several days the new headband just did not feel right. I mean, I get that I couldn't openly fight as a Konoha ninja when Konoha's supposed to not be involved in this civil war, but it still sucks that I don't get to wear my real headband. I worked really hard to earn that thing. Mei turned a radiant smile on the boy. Naruto-kun, I've told you before that it is perfectly alright to call me Mei. Naruto quickly ducked his head so the beautiful woman would not notice he was blushing, and muttered something vaguely incomprehensible. Kurenai-san told me she's being nice like that to try and get me to do stuff for her or tell her things I shouldn't, but I'm still kinda embarrassed by how she's always acting with me. Good thing Tenten-chan's not here to see this. Kurenai-san, Kakashi, and I are continuing to go out as well, using the transformation jutsu to imitate Naruto. Guy cut in, saving the boy from having to come up with some sort of response to Mei's flirtatious behavior. It has done quite a bit to enhance Naruto's reputation. He is seen in several different places at once. Such a deception would be foiled quite quickly if we tried to carry it out for a long time, but for the moment there are some rather impressive rumors about just how many different skills Naruto possesses. Any further discussion of Naruto's role in the ongoing struggle with Yagura was cut off when Ao suddenly stiffened in his seat, then turned to face his commander. Chirumi-sama, I just spotted Zabuza Momochi and 3 other ninjas 10 kilometers away from our camp. I believe he is attempting to locate us. The man's visible eye flicked the Konoha ninjas, and he gave the slightest of flinches. That eye patch. Guy looked at the patch in question, a focused expression of deep thought on his face. It is not covering a missing eye, is it? The Hyuga clan lost one of the main family members several years ago during a mission near Water Country. Kakashi said conversationally. They never recovered the body, and as I recall it caused quite a stir. After all, the Hyuga and Konoha are very protective of the Byakugan. The thought that someone might have managed to steal a Byakugan off the corpse of a dead main branch member was quite distressing. Kakashi shrugged. I'm not sure why I'm mentioning this though. I'm sure it has absolutely nothing to do with anything. We were wondering about how Ao-san can see things that are 10 kilometers away from him even though he's surrounded by rather solid walls on all sides. After all, there is a window right there. Kakashi pointed out the room's sole window, which was nowhere near Ao's current line of sight. With a shrug, Kakashi added. Then again, if anyone did manage to get a Byakugan and implant it in their body it would be a little hypocritical of me to make a big deal out of it. The eccentric Jonin tapped the headband covering his Sharingan eye. So, what's the big deal with this Zabuza guy? Naruto demanded, deciding to change the subject since he was a little confused about what was going on in the room. If Kakashi-san think that AO's gotta be a Kugan, why doesn't he just say so, instead of being all weird and cryptic about it? Nothing wrong with just taking the honest direct approach instead of always having to be so damn mysterious. Zabuza Momochi was once a member of the 7 ninja swordsmen, until he attempted to assassinate Yagura 2 years ago. Mei explained. Zabuza was impatient. He was too eager to take direct action against Yagura right away rather than waiting until the circumstances were in his favor. It created a split within the rebellion. Zabuza and his followers favored taking immediate action against Yagura, while I felt that attempting to launch a coup against Yagura with our current strength would be suicide. In the end, even though AO used his talents to help Zabuza get past Yagura's guards and penetrate his defenses, it was futile to attempt to kill Yagura in a one-on-one fight. Zabuza simply does not have the strength to win that battle, and Yagura is far too wary to be caught off guard even by an assassin of Zabuza's skill. After his coup failed, Zabuza left along with a few his most devoted followers. Some of them have drifted back to the rebellion over the years, while others have lost their ideals and simply become hired thugs or criminals. Terumi-sama. AO spoke up. Send me to speak with Zabuza. He will be more inclined to trust me than any other emissary since I once fought by his side, even if I have come to realize that your course of action was the correct one now. Do it. Mei confirmed. Bring him back to the camp if he is looking for us. The only reason he would return to Water Country is to make another attack on the Mizukichi, and if we can integrate him into our plans we would gain an advantage. Mei's gaze shifted to the Konoha contingent. Gai-san, Kakashi-san, Kurenai-san, I must ask you to leave. It will make our discussion with Zabuza less complicated if you are not present. Naruto-kun, you may remain. He will be expecting to meet you in any case, and it would be awkward to explain your absence from such a significant meeting. As you wish, Terumi-sama. AO shot out the door, moving at full speed to rendezvous with the former rebels. With his Byakugan to guide him, AO was able to move into position to intercept Zabuza and his companions, the demon brothers and a rather effeminate-looking young man AO did not recognize. Zabuza-san. AO called out to catch the former swordsman's attention. AO. Zabuza halted, regarding the Byakugan user neutrally. Didn't think you would still be alive. Guess you've been with Terumi and her bunch ever since Yagura got away from me. Well, I want to talk to her, so you might as well take me there. Didn't know where exactly you guys were, but I figured it was somewhere around here and I'd eventually run into some of the rebels, or get a chance to kill some of Yagura's tools. With a shrug, Zabuza declared. Either one would have worked. Looks like you haven't changed much, have you, Zabuza-san? AO regarded his former comrade. You're still as bloodthirsty and dangerously competent as ever, right? Follow me then, Terumi-sama wants to see you as well. Oh, it's Terumi-sama now, is it? Zabuza asked, stressing the honorific. I never got it, Sama, when you were working for me. The demon of the mist gave a disinterested shrug. Well, let's get on with this. AO led Zabuza and his companions back to the rebel camp, much like when he brought back the Konoha ninjas earlier in the week. The return of the infamous rebel brought the camp's usual activities to a halt as everyone paused to gawk at the man and AO paused to yell at the gawkers. The group quickly made their way to Mei's headquarters, and Zabuza slouched down into one of the open chairs, while the effeminate young man stood at his right hand and the demon brothers stood behind him. It's been a while, Mei-san. The former member of the 7 swordsmen said, looking over the rebel leader. You remember Gozu and Meizu, the demon brothers, and the boy is Haku. You'll like the kid, he's got a Kekkei Genkai. Zabuza-san. Mei answered with a smile. With a wave of her hand, the elegant woman indicated Naruto. I'm sure you've already heard the rumors I have so carefully cultivated, so allow me to introduce Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki to the 9-tailed fox, and a key element of my plan to remove Yagura from power. Hiya, how's it hanging? Naruto said, offering the man a casual wave of his hand. I don't really know much about what's going on with this guy, so I'll just act like I understand everything that's going on and nod a lot without actually saying anything. Zabuza looked the boy over critically, and gave a disinterested shrug. Kid doesn't look all that dangerous. The demon of the mist announced. Then again, Yagura doesn't look all that scary when he's not pulling out all his nasty Jinchuriki tricks. Every shinobi knows that outward appearances can be deceptive. Mei agreed. So, why have you returned, Zabuza-san? I thought you left Water Country for good after your coup against Yagura failed so spectacularly. Yagura just got lucky, the fight easily could have gone the other way. Zabuza scoffed. I was always planning to come back once I had some time to rebuild my forces and got a bit more funding to make sure things went right. Yagura got lucky? Mei smiled. Is that why 30 seconds after you went into his office Yagura smashed you through a window and out into the streets of Kirigakure, and then you went running away like a beaten dog? It was a lucky shot, if I'd been half a second faster it would have missed. Zabuza growled, glaring down at the floor. But who gives a shit about the past? I heard you finally got the guts to make a move against Yagura yourself instead of playing the waiting game like you've been doing for the last couple years. I was in the area, and the guy I was working for was kind of an asshole, so I decided I might as well drop the contract and see what you were up to. Having an excuse to kill Gato didn't hurt, he was an annoying little prick even if he did pay pretty well. I see you have not changed much, Zabuza-san. Mei declared, her smile still in place. Well, since you came all this way I suppose I could find a place for you within our ranks. You did come here to fight, correct? I might be willing to. Zabuza conceded with a shrug. Of course, I expect you'll find an appropriate way to reward me for my efforts. You need my skills and you need my reputation back up your little army, and you know it. His assassination skills would be a boon to our current plans, and the fact that he has returned from exile to join our ranks will persuade some whose loyalty to Yagura might already be wavering. Yagura disbanded the 7 swordsmen of the mist after all the trouble you and Kisame caused him. Hikaru and Nobu were both killed, and the rest have scattered. The 7 swordsmen will need to be rebuilt once Yagura is gone and order has been restored to Kiri. They will also need a new leader. So, if I fight for you I get to be top dog of the new 7 swordsmen? Kisame won't like that. Kisame's exile was one of the only issues I agreed with Yagura on. The man is a monster, and he will have no place in the new Kiri I plan to build once the long nightmare of Yagura's madness finally comes to an end. Once the swordsmen have been rebuilt I intend to send them after Kisame to recover Samahata and put an end to him. He's too dangerous to be allowed to roam freely, even as a rogue ninja. I don't mind getting rid of Kisame, but you're gonna take all the fun out of Kiri by the time you're done, aren't you? Zabuza declared disdainfully. That's what always bugged me about you. Sure, Yagura's gone way too far with the crazy killing, but you'll make the next generation of Kiri ninja a bunch of weaklings if you have your way. The shinobi world is a bloody place, and our ninja need to be prepared to deal with that. They will be prepared. Mei declared confidently. After shooting a quick glance at AO, the woman continued. You are not the first person to say that Yagura's bloodthirsty methods help to toughen the shinobi of Kirigakure. I do not agree. Bloodshed and murder do not make people strong, they just waste lives that could be put to better uses. Naruto-kun has defeated many of Yagura's servants despite being trained in the weak methods of Konoha. With a tight smile, Mei fixed Haku with a direct look and asked. Tell me, Zabuza-san, how did you train Haku? Have you drenched his hands in blood, the way Yagura did with you, or did you choose a different path? Zabuza remained silent, but his refusal to answer and the sullen glare he fixed Mei with gave away the truth. She was right. Zabuza finally broke his silence with an annoyed growl. Let's stop wasting time rehashing old arguments and start talking about how we're going to take Yagura down. What's the plan and who am I supposed to kill? So, this is it, isn't it? Naruto asked, a rare bit of uncertainty and fear creeping into the boy's voice as he stared into the fog-shrouded bamboo forests that would soon become a battleground. Yagura's guys are supposed to be showing up any time now, and then we'll be in a big, nasty battle. Yes, we will. Guy replied, his face concealed behind the mask of Kiri Hunter Ninja and his distinctive green spandex replaced with a nondescript black outfit. Kakashi stood nearby in similar identity-concealing attire. Instead of being able to see it, Naruto just had to imagine the bright smile on Guy's face when his sensei assured him, "Do not worry Naruto, Kakashi and I will make sure nothing happens to you." "Yeah, I know," Naruto said, a note of gratitude in his voice. The boy took a deep breath, and a moment later he was back to his normal, confident self. I still can't believe Terumi-san wants me to stay out of the fight though. I mean, I wanted to take Yagura down and I know I've helped do that by pretending to be her secret weapon, but it kinda sucks that I won't actually get to do anything. Yeah, I'll be sending in a bunch of shadow clones to cause more chaos and confusion, but I really wanted to be the one to take out Yagura. You can't beat Yagura, Kakashi pointed out. Even if she didn't manage to capture you, Yujito still kicked your ass, and she's a lot less dangerous than Yagura is. He would also be fighting to kill instead of trying to take you alive. That makes a big difference. I've gotten a lot stronger since then, Naruto whined. I mean, I know how to use wind chakra now, and I've got a bunch of new jutsu, and you've taught all kinds of new stuff, Gai-sensei. I know I'm not a jonin, but I'm strong enough to win this fight. I mean, you and Kakashi-san and Terumi-san and everyone else are gonna be fighting too. It's not like I'd be trying to take the bastard on all by myself. Yes, you have grown much stronger over the past several months, my brilliant young student. Guy agreed. But you will have years of hard work ahead of you before you can even think to challenge someone like Yagura on an even footing. But Gai-sensei, I made a promise. Naruto looked at the impassive mask covering the face of his Jonin sensei imploringly. You always said that if you give a promise and you really mean it, then you've got to keep it, no matter what. Guy was silent for a moment, and then with a note of resignation in his voice said, Naruto, before the battle starts there is a new jutsu I would like to teach you. Really? Naruto asked, brightening up considerably. Awesome. You don't teach me a lot of ninjutsu or genjutsu, so I bet it's gonna be something really awesome, right? I'll bet I can totally kick that bastard's ass with this. So if I manage to learn the jutsu, then will you guys let me beat up Yagura? Guy went through the jutsu's hand seals with slow, exaggerated care, and then announced. Demonic illusion, false surroundings jutsu. I hate to do this to Naruto, but Kakashi, Kurenai, and I all agreed that if it looked like Naruto might try to engage Yagura despite my orders to the contrary, it would be better to remove him from the battlefield. His fires of youthful passion are strong indeed, but sometimes his passion blinds him to the reality of his limitations. Huh? Naruto blinked in surprise as he felt the genjutsu taking hold and his surroundings began to shift and blur until suddenly he was back in Konoha at one of the training grounds he and Tenten often worked at. Ah man, that was a dirty trick, Gai-sensei. Now I'm never gonna get to fight that Yagura bastard. I will take care of him, Guy declared, picking up his enscrolled student. The Jonin looked back at Kakashi and added. I should be back in a few minutes, do not let the battle start without me. If I cannot defeat more enemies than you, my eternal rival, then I will do 100,000 push-ups. Guy paused, and then amended. Well, the quality of opponents should matter too. Genin will be worth 1 point, Chunin are worth 2, and Jonin will be worth 4. I know we promised to let Mei take him down herself if possible, but if either of is the one to defeat Yagura, he will be worth 20 points. Yeah, sure, whatever you say, Guy. Kakashi agreed disinterestedly, lamenting the fact that openly reading Make Out Paradise would carry the risk of giving away his identity. Guy gave Kakashi a thumbs up, no doubt smiling brilliantly behind his face-concealing mask, and then picked up his student and rushed off into the woods towards a large hill in the back of the rebel lines. Naruto had to be removed from the front lines. Guy informed Kurenai upon his arrival at his fellow Jonin's position further back in the bamboo forest, though the fact that Guy had the boy in question strapped across his back made it rather obvious Naruto was not going to be participating in the fight. His fires of youthful passion are normally one of the things that make him a truly brilliant ninja, but if he were to participate in the coming battle he would seek out Yagura. Guy sank down into one of the nearby chairs. I have a great deal of faith in Naruto, but he would not win a battle against the Mizukichi. I'll watch over him, Kurenai assured the boy's sensei. I'll be working on the genjutsu of the nine-tailed fox. None of the Kiri ninjas have seen it before, so they need my help. We should be a safe distance away from the main battlefield, so Naruto should not be at risk if he's with me. I thought the same thing, which is why I brought him to you, Guy declared. I see. Kurenai looked the boy over. Nice genjutsu work, Guy-san. I've never seen you use one before. Not the best I've ever seen, or even above average for a jonin, but still reasonably proficient, and I can hardly criticize Gai-san for trapping the boy in a harmless illusion rather than beating him into unconsciousness. Genjutsu is by far the best way to subdue an opponent without doing serious harm to them. Gai nodded, and Kurenai suspected that if face were not still covered by the borrowed mask she would have seen a brilliant smile on the man's face. Very well, Kurenai-san, I entrust my beloved student to you. Your fires of youthful passion will no doubt enable you to protect him in the face any threat. Keep him safe from our most unyouthful opponents, and do not remove the Genjutsu unless you feel it is vital to the success of our mission. Now, I must ensure that my eternal rival has not taken advantage of my absence to gain an unfair lead in our contest to defeat as many of Yagura's minions as possible. With a sudden burst of speed, Gai shot off into the forest once more, heading back to his eternal rival, promising himself that Kakashi would not be able to shift the balance of their ongoing contest of ninja might this day. Kurenai watched the Jonin depart with a bemused look. Why is it that so many of the full Jonin are so eccentric? Kakashi-san has his obsession with Jiraiya-sama's books. I wouldn't be surprised Inazuma Sarutobi smokes in his sleep and Gai is, well, there are no words that can really describe him. Shaking herself from her musings, Kurenai quickly tossed a plain brown robe over Naruto's distinctive blonde hair and orange outfit, explaining the supposed Jinchuriki hero of Kiri was behind the front lines and trapped in a genjutsu would be problematic, so it was better to just bypass the problem entirely by concealing his identity. Captain. One of the Kiri ninjas placed under Kurenai's nominal command called out to her. The outer scouts just sent the signal that Yagura's forces have been spotted. It's time to begin, right? Kurenai gave a sharp nod, and quickly made her way to the three rebel genjutsu specialists. Now, this is going to be a huge genjutsu, so the three of you will channel your chakra into the jutsu itself, while I handle the shaping and management of the illusion we'll be using. Understood? The three Kiri rogues nodded. Good, then let's begin. Kurenai's hand snapped through a long set of seals while her assistants channeled their chakra to her. By the time the Jonin was finally prepared to use the jutsu, Yagura's forces could easily be seen moving through the bamboo towards the rebel position. Grand illusion, mass hallucination. Slowly a perfect replica of the nine-tailed fox rose up from the bamboo forest, and Kurenai gave an involuntary flinch as her mind shot back 12 years to the night the fox attacked Konoha. The effect on Yagura's forces was immediate. From her position on the high ground overlooking the battlefield, Kurenai saw the loyalist advance suddenly grind to a halt as terrified ninjas scattered in the face of the fox's fury. One group of loyalists briefly rallied, only to fall apart when two cloaked figures Kurenai suspected were her fellow Konoha Jonin rushed in and quickly dispatched the loyalist leader who had managed to briefly calm his panicked troops. A sudden burst of fog and the appearance of several large mirrors of ice identified other islands of organized resistance being crushed by the rebel forces. It looks like this plan just might work. I wonder Yagura will show himself. The answer to Kurenai's question came moments later when a soft but powerful voice carried across the battlefield. Suetun, exploding water shock wave. Moments later Kurenai saw a gigantic tidal wave begin to sweep across the bamboo forests, and could vaguely make out a single figure standing on the crest of the wave. Yagura. Kurenai declared, her eyes fixed on the three tails Jinchuriki. Naruto went through the motions of trying to break the genjutsu once more, but he still had no luck with the task. Man, Gai-sensei's not a genjutsu master like Kurenai-san. I've never even seen him use genjutsu before, but he's still way too good for me. Damn it, I'd do anything just to break this stupid genjutsu and get into the fight. I bet I'm gonna miss the whole thing just sitting here stuck in a genjutsu, and that's gonna suck so much. Naruto let out a frustrated growl, and forgot all the advice he had gotten breaking genjutsu as he just tried to smash the illusion with brute force. Maybe if I can just get more chakra I'll break this stupid thing. There's gotta be some way to do it. Naruto continued to struggle against the genjutsu, but he simply did not have the skill to break the illusion surrounding him. The boy's frustration continued to mount and gradually transformed into anger, and then rage. Damn it, I can't believe they left me stuck in this stupid genjutsu when I ought to be out there, fighting Yagura with the rest of them. I know I'm just a genin and they're jonin, but I can still help. Stupid genjutsu. Why won't you break? Naruto slammed a fist into the illusionary ground he stood upon. Even if they all outrank me, Gai-sensei and Kakashi-san and Kurenai-san are still my comrades, and I won't let this dumb illusion stop me from helping them. Naruto blinked in surprise when he felt a sudden, odd disturbance in his chakra, almost like how it felt when Kurenai-san or somebody else broke a Genjutsu's hold over him. The illusion of the training field shattered, and Naruto suddenly found himself standing in the middle of a nasty-looking sewer dominated by the gigantic gate standing in front of him. Naruto tried to get a good look at what was beyond the gate, but it was too dark to see anything. Wait, what the hell? Is this part of the Genjutsu too? Hey, kid! A voice called out from within the cage. Why don't you come a little closer and let me get a good look at you? Naruto frowned at the cage. He still was not sure what was going on here, but his instincts told him that the huge locked gates were there for a reason. Why don't you come a little closer and let me get a look at you instead? Naruto suggested. A booming, malice-filled chuckle drifted out from behind the bars. Didn't think you'd fall for that, but it was worth trying. I'd really like to rip your pathetic little body apart, but this damned seal won't let me. The air around quivered with the sound of a massive paw taking a single step forward, and suddenly within the blackness of the cage Naruto saw a pair of bright red eyes burning malevolently. Another thudding footstep reverberated through the area, and Naruto saw the vague outlines of a massive fox head, teeth bared in a horrifying expression halfway between a smile and a snarl. Shit! That thing's teeth are bigger than me. Naruto gave a sharp jerk of his head as he recovered from his initial shock at the beast's size. The fox was so massive he could not even see most of its body, still hidden within the dark depths of the cage. The 9 tails flailing about behind the beast were easy enough to spot though, and from there it was not difficult to figure out the rest. You're the 9-tailed fox, aren't you? What kind of weird genjutsu did Gai-sensei stick me in? This is no genjutsu, boy. The fox growled. Breaking a genjutsu is child's play for a being of my power and magnificence. All I had to do was disturb your chakra network slightly, just like anybody else would when breaking a genjutsu placed on another person. Oh, well, why didn't you ever do that any other time I was caught in genjutsu? Naruto demanded. Why should I go out of my way to help you, brat? The fox snarled. If you're too pathetic to take care of yourself, I'm not going to waste my time babysitting you. I might be stuck in your body, but eventually you're going to die, and then I'll be free to remanifest myself after a while. When you die I'll die too, but to a being as ancient and powerful as I am death is just an inconvenience. I've got no reason to help you, though if you take this damned seal off I might do something to repay you for the favor. Yeah, well if you're so freaking powerful why the hell are you still stuck in my body? Naruto shot back. You know, I've had to put up with a lot of crap because of you. If I had a way to get rid of you without killing myself I'd probably do it, but I don't, so it looks like I can't get rid of you. So, as long as you're taking up space in my body, I think you ought to find some way to make up for it. Fixing the fox with a glare, Naruto shouted. You owe me rent, you stupid fox. You can start by giving me your chakra and dispelling any genjutsu that affect me from now on. If you don't I'll come into that cage and kick your furry ass. The fox remained silent for a moment and then let out a deep, menacing sound. At first Naruto thought the sound the fox growling at him, but the boy soon realized that it was actually chuckling, and soon the fox slipped into full-out laughter. You stupid little brat. The fox declared once it finally stopped laughing at him. You have no idea how easily I could crush you if the 4th seal wasn't protecting you. Still, you've got guts and I respect that, and I suppose if I let you go on being so pathetic people might start to think I'm as weak as you are. Alright, you want my chakra, here it is. In fact, I'll even let you have some more anytime you ask nicely enough. Just remember, you're nothing without my help, you worthless little whelp. A tide of dark reddish-orange chakra began to flow out from under the gate. Hey, I was kicking ass before I even knew you were here, you stupid old fox. Naruto shot back moments before the chakra enveloped him. Whoa. This is way more than I used in that fight with Yagura. Now I'm definitely gonna kick Yagura's ass. Yagura's water attacks had transformed the battlefield, changing a large portion of it from a bamboo forest to a massive lake. In many ways this Ultra-Tuib had weakened Yagura's forces further. The confusion within his already scattered and disorganized units had only become worse after the sudden change in terrain. Had it been another village's forces fighting the battle, many of the ninja would have drowned, but Kiri's shinobi were trained to master water walking much sooner than ninja from other villages. Even then, the unexpected tidal wave inflicted a modest number of casualties on both sides. The losses Yagura's attack inflicted on his own men did not bother the Mizukage. Anyone weak enough to die from such a simple attack was worthless as a tool anyway. It was the first and oldest rule of the shinobi world: the strong survive, and the weak perish. If a few weaklings had to be sacrificed to achieve victory, then that was a price he was more than willing to pay. Yagura would protect his nation and the people of Kiri, no matter how high the cost might be. Yagura could not recall the exact details of when he had grown so hard-hearted, or what had caused the sudden change in his outlook. Once he had been a kind ruler, gentle even by the standards of most shinobi. Perhaps the change had come after the Kagaya clan's attack. Maybe seeing the blood-crazed clan try to butcher his people had convinced Yagura that he had been too soft before, that his enemies had mistaken his kindness for weakness. It made sense, but for some reason Yagura could never quite persuade himself that the attack was the real reason everything had changed. Yagura certainly did not match the image anybody would have expected of the infamous blood-soaked tyrant of Blood Mist Village. He was short and slender, and his face looked far too smooth and youthful for his 35 years. More than one ignorant visitor had mistaken the Mizukage for a young genin. His simple black and green outfit hardly matched what most would expect a kage to wear, and the hooked staff he wielded with deadly grace looked far too large for a person of his size and build to use. Zabuza was not the first ninja to judge Yagura by his appearance and think him weak and easily beaten, but every ninja who made that mistake inevitably regretted it. The beautiful woman who strode confidently across the newly formed lake towards Yagura was not one of the people who had ever made that mistake. "Yagura," Mei called out. "You must listen to me. You are under the control of a genjutsu. You have to fight it, Yagura. I know you can break free." "Genjutsu?" Yagura scoffed. "You really expect me to believe that, Mei? I am a Jinchuriki. Genjutsu has no effect on me. The three-tailed turtle would instantly break any genjutsu within moments of somebody trying to place one upon me, even if I couldn't resist it on my own. If you were going to make up a lie to put me off guard, you could have at least come up with something remotely plausible." "It is not a lie," Mei insisted. "It is the truth. You are being controlled by someone else." "I think not," Yagura declared calmly. "Genjutsu has no effect upon me. You should have realized how pointless trying to frighten me with a mere illusion of the nine-tailed fox would be. I will not be fooled by your lies as your followers have been. I have not told anyone else what happened to you," Mei said quietly. "If they knew you were being controlled, they would try to save you instead of fighting you. We tried to find a way to break the genjutsu. We tried so hard, but we can't. Every effort, every attempt we've made to free you has failed, Yagura-sama." Mei's eyes hardened in resolve. "So be it then. I had to make one last effort to save you, to free you from this compulsion placed upon you, but, even if I cannot free you, I will not find a way to stop you. I will not let your madness continue any more. I cannot let hundreds of innocents die every year in the fading hope that one day I can find a way to spare your life and restore you to your senses. For the good of the people of Kiri, you must die, Yagura-sama. You really believe your own lies, don't you, Mei?" Yagura declared calmly. "The good of Kiri will be served on this day, for today I will finally put an end to the bloodline curse that has plagued our nation for so long. For so many years our people have lived in fear of those who wield the power of Kekei Genkai. The Kagaya clan's rebellion killed so many, and now your own revolt has killed more. I respected you once, Mei, but now it is clear to me that Kekei Genkai can drive even a good person to madness. Today, I will save Kiri, and destroy the bloodline curse once and for all." Yotan, Lava Bullet Jutsu. Mei took a deep breath and spat several globs of lava at the Mizukage. "I suppose I should have expected he would turn the battlefield into a lake. With several feet of water between me and the ground, I cannot use many earth jutsu, which would give me an advantage against a water user like Yagura. Still, my lava attacks mix fire and earth, so they should be more than a match for his water jutsu." Yagura only needed a single hand seal to activate his own jutsu. Suetun, Water Dragon Jutsu. A huge mass of water rose from the lake and shaped itself into the form of a dragon, and with contemptuous ease batted the lava bullets aside. Mei unleashed a blast acidic mist with her boil Kekii Genkale. The acid mist disrupted the water dragon and continued towards Yagura himself. Mei was not about to give the Mizukage a chance to avoid her acid mist. The rebel leader quickly produced another jutsu. Yotan, demonic melting jutsu. Mei unleashed a wave of lava from her mouth, aiming it in a wide arc above Yagura so that the lava would come down on him from above while also striking behind and to each side of the Mizukage. Now he cannot try to jump over my acid mist or the lava will get him, and unless he is even faster than I remember him being, the only way he can move in to dodge my lava attack would bring him straight into my acid mist. When the lava struck the water, it unleashed a wave of steam, and Mei lost sight of the Mizukage. The woman quickly leapt back from the area until she was clear of the sudden fog bank her attack had created, watching carefully for any sign of the Mizukage. It looked like my attack was a direct hit, but until I see his body with my own eyes I will not believe that Yagura is dead. Mei's caution proved to be most prudent when the fog slowly cleared to reveal that a large turtle shell occupied the space where Yagura had been when her attack hit. After a few moments, the shell slowly folded in upon itself to reveal that Yagura had taken on an animalistic appearance and was covered in a cloak of chakra so thick it was solid black. 3 spiked chakra tails thrashed in the water behind the Jinchuriki. Yagura's features were almost completely obscured by the cloak of thick black chakra, and all Mei could see of his face was the unnatural white glow emanating from his mouth and eyes. Mei. The Mizukage spoke, his normally gentle voice granted an unnatural timbre by the partial transformation. You have no idea how long I've been looking forward to this moment. With your death and the end of your mad rebellion I will finally restore peace and prosperity to Kiri, and put an end to the bloodline curse once and for all. Kurenai grimaced down at the battlefield. Yagura's forces were still in a state of chaos, and the efforts of Kakashi, Guy, and Zabuza ensured that any time the chain of command began to re-establish itself, chaos returned to Yagura's ranks after the 3 locked a precise and overwhelming attack on whatever commander had taken charge of the situation. However, while Yagura's forces were still disorganized and uncoordinated, their raw numbers were still more than enough to overwhelm the rebels if they managed to restore order to their ranks. The longer the fight between Mei and Yagura dragged out, the more time his army would have to recover from their initial shock, counter the Genjutsu, and launch a devastating counterattack. Any further consideration of the tactical situation came to an abrupt end when Kurenai heard a string of foul curses burst out of the woods on the Genjutsu team's flank. Ow! Damn it! This really fucking hurts. Why the hell did I decide that it was a good idea to climb up this big damn hill when I've got a pair of busted knees? There were plenty of ninja who didn't get their knees melted off by a freaking lava blast, but no, I had to up and go on this little adventure in climbing up a steep incline instead of sending someone else. I swear, I'd switch sides, except then the rebels would probably make me climb back down this damn hill all over again. Himura-san, take over the Genjutsu. Kurenai ordered one of her subordinates. By now you should know enough about what the 9-tailed fox looks like to be able to keep the illusion in working order for a while, and it sounds like we've got trouble to deal with. Kurenai left the 3 other Genjutsu users behind, and rushed into the woods, looking for the cursing intruder. Judging from what she was saying, she's one of Yagura's loyalists. One ninja is no threat to the 4 of us, but if I don't stop her she might distract the others from the Genjutsu, and if the fox illusion falls apart Yagura's forces will rally and the entire battle will be lost. Kurenai came to a halt when she found the intruder, a woman in a simple black outfit with very short black hair and the unmarred headband of one of Yagura's loyal servants. The woman was limping slightly, and a mixture of pain and anger twisted her face. She doesn't even see me, this should be easy. Kurenai's hands flashed through a series of seals before the Jonin announced. Demonic illusion. Tree-binding death. Kurenai's confident smile soon faded, replaced with confusion when the Genjutsu seemed to have absolutely no effect on the woman. The intruder looked around and quickly located the Konoha Jonin, then smirked. So, guess you finally noticed me cursing up a storm, rebel. Nice try with the Genjutsu, but it turns out that having my knees get so damaged not even a medical ninja could put them back together has a bit of an unexpected side benefit. Of course. Kurenai hissed. Physical pain is one of the best ways to disrupt a Genjutsu. Yup. The loyalist agreed. Should have thought about that sooner, I pretty much gave up on my ninja career once I got half crippled. However, it turns out nobody can make a genjutsu stick to me, no matter how hard they try. I'm just in too much damn pain all the time for any illusions to work. The woman shrugged. Looks like I've got a future as a ninja after all, even if I can barely stand to move. The fact that I can ignore even the highest level genjutsu makes me a big asset. Plus, you genjutsu types are usually helpless against anyone who isn't affected by all your tricks, so even at my current level I should be able to take you down. Kurenai's fingers dived into her pouch of ninja tools, and she sent several shuriken flying at the woman. I'm not sure what her skills are, but with all the time she spent complaining about her knees, I bet if I can force her to move around a lot she'll be out of the fight pretty quickly. Not being able to use genjutsu on her is a problem, though. The intruder drew out a kunai, and batted the weapons aside with contemptuous ease. Before I lost my knees I was one hell of a kunoichi, you know. The woman said conversationally. I'd probably have made jonin by now, but when they're handing out promotions everyone just seems to skip over the chick with the creaky legs that can't stand up for 5 minutes without wanting to pass out. With a shrug the woman added. By the way, I never introduced myself, did I? Casually pointing her kunai at her own chest, the woman said. My name's Saki Kato, who the hell are you? Kurenai shifted position and unleashed another barrage of shuriken, testing the woman's movements and reaction time. She's probably exaggerating when she talks about just how hindered she is by her injuries. She wouldn't still be an active duty ninja or out on the battlefield if she was completely incapable of performing the basic tasks expected of any kunoichi. Once I have a good idea what her capabilities are I'll be able to work out the best way to beat her. So, Saki continued, not even interrupting her conversation as she once more deflected Kurenai's thrown weapons with ease. Guess you're not the talkative type, are you? Not even gonna give me your name? When Kurenai did not answer after a few moments, Saki continued talking. Anyway, all this crap started when I have a run with the Jinchuriki you guys have on your side. Where the hell is he anyway? When Kurenai ignored the question in favor of launching another set of shuriken at the loyalist, Saki continued her stream of conversation while deflecting the thrown weapons with casual ease. Anyway, I decided to embellish my encounter with him a bit, because it really wasn't all that exciting. Then, next thing I know I'm some kind of war hero since I survived a run-in with the Nine Tails, and then I end up getting dragged along with the field army instead of being left of garrison duty like I was supposed to be. Now, at first I thought this was a complete disaster, but then when you guys pulled your genjutsu trick and it didn't work on me, I realized that if I could take the lot of you out then I'd clench my position as a valuable asset to Kiri. Then maybe Yagura will decide it's worth looking around for a medic who's good enough to fix my damn knees up properly, and I can finally get back to having a decent ninja career. Kurenai began performing the hand seals for another genjutsu, and Saki scoffed. I already told you, genjutsu won't work on. Saki's cut her own statement off when Kurenai suddenly stopped performing seals and rushed forward in a charge, catching the other woman off guard. Shit, she's as fast as I was in my prime. Before Saki's damaged legs could even begin shifting to a defensive position, Kurenai closed in on her and slammed a side kick right into the woman's right knee. Fuck! Saki shrieked, dropping to the ground and clutching her knee, her eyes involuntarily tearing up from the pain. Let me give you 2 pieces of advice. Kurenai said calmly. First, never underestimate an opponent. I might be a genjutsu specialist, but I'm also quite skilled with taijutsu and when I need to I can move very fast, as you no doubt just noticed. Second, in the future you probably shouldn't give long, rambling speeches about how much your knees hurt and how vulnerable they are, because then someone might just decide to hit you there. I'll keep those things in mind. Saki groaned. Hey, you rebels got a policy on surrendering? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've lost the fight by this point, and I'm really not all that keen on the whole concept of dying. Before Kurenai could answer the woman's question her carefully honed instincts began screaming of danger, and massive wave of malevolent chakra swept through the area. That chakra, it feels exactly like when the fox attacked Konoha 12 years ago, and it came from right where I left Naruto. Kurenai watched in horror as the orange-clad boy, cloaked in the chakra of the nine-tailed fox, burst out from the bamboo forest, rushing with impossible speed towards the lake where Yagura and Mei were locked in battle. He's moving so fast, I don't think I could catch up with him in time, and I've still got to secure this prisoner. Besides, I don't know how long the others can keep the Genjutsu up without me, and if the Genjutsu fails we'll lose the battle for sure. Kakashi, guy, I hope you can take care of Naruto, because there's nothing I can do. Yagura. Where the hell are you, you bastard? Naruto shouted, barreling through the bamboo forest and out onto the newly formed lake that dominated the battlefield. Ninja on both sides halted their engagements to stare in shock at the boy, clad in a bubbling cloak of orange chakra, with 3 fully formed tails lashing behind it. Yagura. The boy roared once more, searching madly for his target. It was a struggle for Naruto to think of anything beyond his burning hatred for his fellow Jinchuriki. That bastard murdered thousands of innocent people for no reason at all. It's guys like Yagura that make people hate all Jinchuriki. If people like him weren't around the rest of us wouldn't have it so bad. I'll make him pay for everything he's done. For all the innocent lives, all the suffering, everything. Naruto's rage found a physical expression as the boy spotted a nearby group of Yagura's shinobi and the Jinchuriki lashed out at them, extending arms of pure chakra to claw at the ninja. Naruto's speed and unexpected range of his attack caught the squad of Chunin off guard, and before they could even try to dodge the attack Naruto's chakra claws ripped the life from them. Then the Jinchuriki saw what he knew must be his quarry, and with a sudden leap Naruto veritably flew across the battlefield, sailing over another squad of loyalists engaged in battle with a pair of cloaked and masked figures. Had the boy been in his right mind, he would have recognized the 2 men as Guy and Kakashi. The 2 Jonin watched the boy's flight in horrified fascination, and then quickly dispatched their opponents before rushing after the wayward Jinchuriki. Naruto landed dozens of meters away from his target, but sheer momentum caused the chakra-cloaked boy to slide along the surface of the water until he came to a halt at Mei's side. The woman instinctively recoiled from the boy's demonic chakra aura, staring in shock at the virtually unrecognizable Jinchuriki. The subtle, whisker-like markings on his face had become thick black lines, his canines had elongated into vicious fangs, and his eyes had become blood-red with slit, bestial pupils. Naruto-kun? Mei asked uncertainly. Yagura. The boy shouted, causing the very air around him to ripple with unleashed chakra. Mei quickly jumped clear of the boy. She wasn't sure how much control he had over himself in his current state, but years of carefully honed ninja instincts were screaming at her to get away from his malevolent chakra aura. Ah, you must be the famous Naruto Uzumaki. Yagura said conversationally, his own, thick black chakra cloak still in place. I was wondering when you would finally show yourself. I must confess, I am disappointed. I expected the boy who would dare to challenge me would have enough control to not be almost completely taken over when controlling a mere pittance of his beast's power. You haven't even managed to move past the initial cloak version yet, and you're barely more than a wild beast. Yagura. The fox Jinchuriki roared once more, too far gone to care about the more experienced demon host's words. I'm going to kill you. You'll pay for what you've done. Many have said that, and none of them beat me. Yagura shot back. The Mizukage lifted a hand and confidently beckoned the boy to come towards him. Well, Uzumaki, let's see if you're any better than the others were. The 2 Jinchuriki faced each other, one clad in the chakra of the 3-tailed turtle, the other surrounded by the orange energy of the 9-tailed fox. Yagura would brook no threat to his power. An attack on the Mizukage was an attack upon all of Kiri, and Yagura responded brutally to anyone who harmed his people. The cycle of murder unleashed by those who possessed Kekkei Genkai would end this day, and anyone who dared to stand in his way would die before the unmatched might of the Mizukage and the 3-tailed turtle. Naruto's rage was the equal of Yagura's grim resolve. Naruto refused to allow any more innocents to die, and he was determined to make Yagura pay for his crimes with his life. The boy struck first, rushing forward with a furious roar and lashing out with a chakra-coated fist. Yagura easily dodged the blow, smoothly ducking down and shifting the right to line up his counterattack. One of Yagura's 3 spiked chakra tails lashed out, slamming into Naruto's body and sending him skimming along the surface of the newly formed lake. A direct hit from such a powerful blow likely would have disabled or even killed an ordinary ninja, but between his protective chakra cloak and the rapid healing provided by the 9-tailed fox Naruto suffered was barely fazed by the powerful blow, and the boy quickly returned to his feet. The young Jinchuriki tensed when another ninja landed by his side, and his chakra claws almost shot forward to rip out the new arrival's throat before the woman spoke and Naruto realized that the new arrival was Mei. "Naruto-kun, you should not be here." The woman's ever-present smile looked particularly grim. "However, now that you are here, we need to work together against Yagura if we are to have any hope of beating him. A straightforward charge just is not going to dash." Ignoring the woman's attempt to create a plan for a coordinated attack on Yagura, Naruto rushed in once more, letting out a battle roar that nearly knocked Mei off her feet with its sheer power. The young Jinchuriki was too far gone within the fox's animalistic rage to work alongside another person as part of a team. The only part of his psyche that remained relatively intact was the burning rage the boy directed at his fellow Jinchuriki. As he charged, Naruto snapped his arms forward, and his chakra claws extended several meters beyond the boy's body to slash at Yagura. The Mizukage dodged the left claw with contemptuous ease, and then shocked Naruto by managing to grab the right chakra claw and use it to yank the boy towards him. The off-balance Uzumaki stumbled towards Yagura, and took a vicious slash across the face from the Mizukage's chakra claws, followed by a powerful kick to the guts that lifted Naruto off the water and sent him flying back towards Mei. The Mizukage started forward to finish of the down Jinchuriki, but Mei rushed to Naruto's side and unleashed a wave of acidic mist, forcing Yagura to fall back. Naruto let out a groan of pain and slowly picked himself up off the water, and Mei gave a slight involuntary flinch when she saw that Yagura claw strike had lain most of the left side of the boy's face open. Both Naruto's cheek and jaw bones were clearly visible, and the boy had barely avoided losing an eye. With the power of the nine-tailed fox flowing through him, the wounds quickly healed, and in a matter of seconds Naruto's face was whole once more. There was not even a scar to mark where the vicious wound had been. Before Naruto could resume his attack on Yagura, Guy and Kakashi arrived on the battlefield and made their way to the boy's side. Naruto did not even acknowledge the presence of his two trainers, his bestial eyes fixed on the last place Yagura had been before Mei's fog of acidic vapor separated the two. "Naruto," Guy called out, trying to catch the attention of his student. When the boy did not respond, Guy hesitantly put a hand on the boy's shoulder, hoping the touch would gain Naruto's attention where words had failed. Naruto's response was immediate, and it was only due to years of experience and training that Guy managed to avoid the sudden swipe of Naruto's claws. Had he not dodged the blow, Naruto's attack would surely have eviscerated him. A second later, the boy's eyes locked on Guy's and widened slightly in recognition, and the boy growled out something that sounded more like a warning than an apology. "Don't startle me like that again, Guy-sensei." Naruto's eyes swept over the three more experienced ninja. "Stay out of my way, Yagura's mine." The boy rushed at the Mizukage once more, snarling like an enraged animal. "Naruto's out of control," Kakashi declared, raising the headband under his mask to reveal his Sharingan eye. "He attacked his own sensei with intent to kill just for startling him, and he's obviously not interested in any sort of teamwork. While he's using that much of the fox's power, disabling him and removing him from the battlefield would be difficult, and he's likely to respond with lethal force if we actually try to do so. We can't afford that kind of distraction while we've still got Yagura to deal with. Then we will just have to do the best we can to support Naruto and work alongside him, even if he is barely in control of himself and uninterested in cooperation." Guy responded. "Even in his current state, I have absolute faith that Naruto will do the right thing and support his comrades in battle if we fight at his side. Between the four of us we should be able to handle Yagura." Mei agreed. "And even if he is not control, Naruto's actions are quite predictable in his current state. He just charges straight in and attacks over and over again, like a rabid fox." Yagura knocked the boy in question sprawling once more, but Naruto recovered and was back on his feet before Yagura could move in and exploit the boy's temporary disadvantage. Naruto seems to be able to take quite a few hits from Yagura with no ill effects, so I would suggest that the next time he charges in and occupies Yagura we move in and attack from the flanks while the Mizukage is distracted by dealing with Naruto. "I agree," Guy said. "It is not the most detailed plan, but it seems like the best strategy we can pursue under the circumstances." Naruto let out a bestial roar, and charged Yagura again. As soon as the boy engaged the Mizukage, Guy ordered, "Now is our chance to strike. Attack!" Guy and Kakashi rushed in Yagura's flanks, while Mei stood back to watch for the best moment to strike with one of her Kekii Genkai. Yagura ducked a claw swipe from Naruto and then quickly looked to both sides to get a fix on the location of the two Jonin flanking him, and swiped out with two of his chakra tails. Both Guy and Kakashi dodged the fast but relatively straightforward attacks, and both prepared their own counter-strikes. Guy leapt towards Yagura and prepared to strike with Leaf Whirlwind, while Kakashi prepared a Chidori in his right hand. Before either of the Jonin struck, Naruto snapped a high kick at Yagura's head. Rather than duck the blow, the Mizukage caught Naruto's leg in one of his hands. Yagura then swung Naruto about by his captured leg, using the boy as an improvised weapon to swat Guy and Kakashi aside, and then hurling Naruto at Mei. The young Jinchuriki slammed into the rebel leader and the two fell down into the water for a brief instant before Mei was able to untangle herself from Naruto and return to the surface. Had the boy been in his right mind, he would have felt a twinge of guilt over the light chakra burns she had sustained over much of her exposed skin from being in contact with his Ninetales cloak for several seconds. Even brief exposure to the fox's chakra was unhealthy. As it was, the boy was far too occupied with his desire for revenge to notice the damage he had unintentionally inflicted upon the woman, and as soon as he returned to his feet he was charging at Yagura again. Once more Guy and Kakashi tried to support Naruto, but a swipe from one of Yagura's tails sent the boy staggering right into Kakashi's path, and the Jonin barely managed to stop his charge and avoid spearing Guy's student with a Chidori. A follow-up blow from another of Yagura's tails sent Naruto crashing into Kakashi, and the impact sent the two Konoha shinobi into the water as neither was able to support the other's weight while water walking. With Naruto and Kakashi out of the way for the moment, Yagura met Guy's attack with one of his own, more than willing to accept a kick from the Jonin in exchange for landing a solid blow with one of his chakra-coated fists. Yagura staggered slightly from the sheer force of Guy's kick, but his response sent Guy flying back several meters, and the normally irrepressible Jonin was slow to return to his feet. If I had not managed to roll with that blow I would have several broken ribs right now, as it is one more solid hit to the chest would probably finish me. When Naruto could not immediately return to the water's surface due to being entangled with Kakashi, the young Jinchuriki scrabbled to find some other surface to launch himself off of. Kakashi's eyes widened when the boy suddenly set his feet against the Jonin's stomach, and Kakashi let out a pained gasp when Naruto kicked off against him to charge Yagura once more. The boy's feet had shorter chakra claws than his arms, but her still left behind two parallel sets of scratches along Kakashi's stomach, and the Jonin felt surprise when he realized how painful the relatively minor wounds were. I've had far worse injuries that hurt less than this, it must have something to do with the chakra of the nine-tailed fox. Naruto might not be so out of control that he'll attack us directly, but he's definitely not thinking about the potential for harming his teammates via collateral damage when he attacks Yagura. With Guy still recovering from Yagura's blow while the effects of the fox's chakra and their Naruto-induced injuries temporarily left Kakashi and Mei unable to fight, the boy had to face the Mizukage all by himself once more. This time Yagura caught him off guard by meeting Naruto's charge with one of his own. The two Jinchuriki were rushing at each other at a speed no ordinary shinobi was capable of achieving. Yagura surprised the boy by dropping down on all fours at the last second, causing Naruto's attack to go flying over the Mizukage's body. The next moment all three of Yagura's tails lashed out and knocked the boy straight up into the air. Before he could even begin to recover from the attack the tails struck several more times, keeping the boy from falling into the water. Without appearing to exert any real effort or focus his attention upon on the task, Yagura used his tails to juggle the boy in the air, rendering Naruto helpless and far too disoriented to attempt to break free or counterattack. By this time the boy's more experienced partners had recovered, and were quick to move to the young Jinchuriki's assistance. However, Mei had to cut her lava jutsu short when Yagura shifted the position of his tail so that Naruto was now between him and the dangerous woman, effectively blocking her from attacking lest she hit Naruto as well. The two Konoha Jonin advanced on Yagura slowly, watching the dangerous Jinchuriki carefully. After the way their last two attacks had gone they expected the Mizukage would almost certainly use Naruto against them once more, especially since Yagura had gone to the trouble of capturing the boy instead of merely knocking him out. However, instead of using Naruto as an improvised weapon once more Yagura began to gather chakra around his mouth, taking advantage of his opponent's focus on the boy. Kakashi's eyes widened in shock as his Sharingan showed him that whatever attack Yagura was preparing involved chakra of incredible power and density, the likes of which the odd-eyed Jonin had not seen since the fox's attack on Konoha 12 years ago. Guy, Mei, scatter. The two quickly complied with Kakashi's suggestion, one hardly needed the insight provided by the Sharingan to tell that the attack Yagura was currently preparing was bound to be utterly devastating, and none of the ninjas wanted to be on the receiving end of such a blow. The three promptly split up, each moving away in a different direction and adding in the occasional leap in a random direction to ensure that Yagura would have a difficult time hitting any of them, and no chance of catching all three with a single attack. Forced to make a decision, Yagura turned his head towards Mei, planning to finally remove the rebel leader that had been a thorn in his side for years. An instant before Yagura unleashed his blast, Naruto, still bouncing between Yagura's three tails, stole a page from the Mizuki's book by striking Yagura's head with one of Naruto's own chakra tails. While the attack was only a glancing blow that did no real damage, it did deflect Yagura's attack enough that it missed Mei by the barest of margins. Yagura ceased toying with the boy and wrapped one of his tails around Naruto's feet, dangling him upside down, in front of Yagura's face. "You are annoyingly persistent." Yagura informed the younger Jinchuriki right before he slammed a rib-shattering blow right into Naruto's chest. The boy let out a snarl of pain, and within seconds began coughing up blood. Satisfied that Naruto was out of the fight, Yagura released his hold on the boy, letting him fall into the water. The boy remained floating on the surface, in far too much pain to sustain the concentration needed to continue walking on the water. "You might wear the headband of one of the rebels, but I know you once came from Konoha," the Mizuki declared. "Perhaps Konoha approves of your presence here, and perhaps not. Either way, I think once I've finished dealing with the legacy of the bloodline curse in Kiri, I will send a clear message to the world that outside interference within my realm will not be tolerated. I think I will go to Konohagakure itself and destroy everything and everyone you ever loved. That should be more than enough to send a clear message, and should dissuade the next fool who thinks it would be a good idea to attack my nation and plunge my people into war and death." Yagura's eyes widened in surprise as Naruto staggered back onto the lake's surface, his crippling injuries already healed, and the boy let out an enraged, bestial howl. The chakra of the nine-tailed fox grew thicker and thicker around the young Jinchuriki, and bits of Naruto's skin began to burn off as a result of the sheer intensity of the tailed beast's chakra. "Oh dear, that could be a bit of a problem." Yagura regarded the boy with mild alarm. His skin wouldn't be coming off like that unless he was about to enter a stage 2 cloak, or possibly even attempt a full transformation. "I doubt I could deal with the full unleashed might of the nine-tailed fox, especially not with Mei and those two little helpers of hers joining in on the fight. The boy will be completely out of control, but he will still target me before anyone else. Even the fox would realize I am by far the greatest threat. If the fox defeats me, he would go on a rampage and destroy most of Kiri before someone could stop him, and even if I win, taking him down would exhaust me, and I still have a rebellion to crush." Yagura smiled, and dropped his own chakra cloak. "Well, good thing I have a way to stop that from happening." The Mizuki rushed up to Naruto, who was still in the early stages of his transformation, and snapped his hands through a complicated series of seals at an incredible speed. Supreme Jinchuriki Art, Tailed Beast Disruption. Yagura slammed his palm into Naruto's chest, and the young Jinchuriki flew backwards as his chakra cloak disappeared, suppressed by the Mizuki's strength of will and a sudden burst of the turtle's chakra. "By injecting my beast's chakra into Uzumaki's chakra network, I can disrupt his ability to contact the nine-tailed fox. Having another tailed beast's chakra in his system will throw the fox's chakra network into chaos. It's not a perfect solution, there's a bit of cross-contamination, so I won't be able to use the turtle's power for a few minutes either, but it is better than letting the nine-tailed fox go wild. Trying to suppress his power after that transformation had been completed probably would have taken everything I had, and even then, I can't be certain that it would work. Much easier to simply disrupt the boy's connection to his tailed beast before he can do too much damage, and I'll recover from my jutsu's side effects long before Uzumaki regains control of the fox's chakra." The three more experienced rebel ninja had returned to the battlefield by this point and quickly rushed to Naruto's side. Kakashi pulled the semi-conscious boy out of the water and quickly looked Naruto over with his Sharingan, then informed his companions. "The chakra of the nine-tailed fox seems to have been completely suppressed. Naruto is not even healing quickly like he normally does." Guy and Mei warily watched Yagura as Kakashi looked over the downed boy, but the Mizuki seemed content to sit back and wait while his opponents tended to Naruto. "He is not using the three-tailed turtle's power either. Perhaps the jutsu he used on Naruto also suppresses the chakra of his tailed beast as well. In addition, he has been content to let us make the first move, and then counter our attacks for most of the fight. It has worked pretty well so far, so he'll probably stick with that strategy. Further, time is on his side in this clash. The longer we take to defeat him, the more time his army will have to recover. Naruto groaned as he slowly recovered from the effects of Yagura's suppression jutsu. Man, that bastard can really hit. Naruto groaned, rubbing water and his own blood off of his face. Noticing the man watching over him, Naruto blinked and said, "Oh, hey Kakashi-san. What did I miss? Yagura just kicked your ass." Kakashi supplied helpfully. Then again, he's been kicking all of our asses pretty badly so far. With that chakra surrounding him, he's so fast even my Sharingan can barely keep up with him, and being able to see the attacks coming doesn't do much good when I can't move fast enough to effectively dodge or counter. Plus, he's been using our crappy teamwork against us. For a while he was actually using you as an improvised weapon and a human shield. Yeah, I kinda remember something like that. Naruto grumbled. Mostly all I remember is being super pissed at Yagura though, and I got enough of the fox's power to have 3 tails. That was kinda cool, but obviously I'm gonna need more than that to beat Yagura. Naruto. Guy said firmly but kindly. While you were in your 3-tailed state you injured both Terumi-san and Kakashi. Using the fox's power to the point where you lose control and injure your comrades is not the way to win any battle. What? Naruto looked at the mentioned shinobi, and flinched when he noticed Mei's chakra burns and the claw marks along Kakashi's stomach. I didn't mean to. Naruto desperately scrambled to apologize. It is fine, Naruto-kun. Mei assured the boy with a kind smile. Our injuries are minor, and you did not intend to harm either of us. However, given your obvious difficulties with the fox's power, I think it would be unwise to attempt to use it any more during this fight. We need teamwork and coordination to beat Yagura, and the foxes prevents you from doing that. Yagura is a master of exploiting weaknesses in his opponent's offensives and creating openings to counterattack, and when you draw upon the fox's power you tend to take the direct approach. Against a counterattack master like Yagura, launching a reckless, straightforward assault is suicide. Anything less than perfect cooperation will merely allow him to turn our own attacks against us. So it's all about teamwork. Naruto replied, nodding vigorously. I guess that means none of us are good enough to take him out on our own, huh? I hoped I might be. Mei confessed. However, even if I could win, such a battle would be a long, drawn-out affair, as I relied on my long-range ninjutsu and Kekkei Genkai to slowly wear Yagura down, and by this point we simply do not have the time for such a strategy. We need to finish off Yagura before his army can rally. Naruto pondered the matter, and then his eyes brightened in sudden excitement. So we need perfect teamwork to take this bastard down, huh? The young Jinchuriki grinned. That gives me a really interesting idea. No, Naruto-kun. Mei shouted. Get back here, you fool, I'm gonna kick Yagura's ass all by myself. Naruto shouted back, charging at the Mizukichi. Mass Shadow Clone Jutsu. Hundreds of shadow clones burst into life in a wide circle around Yagura. Yagura looked over the small army of clones, a bored smile on his face. How very amusing you are, little Naruto. The Mizukichi looked over the horde of orange-clad genin disdainfully. You can't seriously expect to defeat me with sheer numbers, can you? You might have been able to threaten me by completely giving in to the power of your tailed beast, but without it you're nowhere near my level. Oh yeah, we'll see about that. Naruto and his clones all drew out a single kunai, and then concentrated on the weapon for a moment until the blade began emitting a blue glow as the boy channeled wind chakra into it. The clones in the rear ranks leapt into the air, moving over the Mizukichi to form a rough sphere around Yagura, leaving him no room to dodge by jumping over the attack. Dodge this, you bastard! Naruto and his clones lashed out with their kunai, filling the air with so many wind-enhanced kunai that there was no way Yagura could hope to dodge the rain of deadly weapons. Not even Tenten-chan's twin rising dragons can get this many weapons in the air moving at a single target at the exact same time. Suetun, water shell, water leapt up from the lake and surrounded Yagura, easily deflecting and disrupting the momentum of Naruto's barrage of thrown weapons. With a smirk, Yagura performed the second stage of the jutsu. Exploding burst. The shell of water exploded outwards, sending deadly high-pressure blasts of water in every direction and striking down dozens of clones. I told you, even your best attacks stand no chance of seriously harming me. You simply don't have the skill to stand against me. I don't care if you're better than me, I'm still gonna take you down. Naruto shouted. Even if it costs me my life, I'll find a way to kill you first. I won't let you hurt any more innocent people. Innocent? Yagura sneered at the boy. How very naive of you. Do you think I enjoy killing, that I have slaughtered so many people just for the sheer malicious joy of witnessing their deaths? No. The destruction of the Kekii Genkai is necessary to preserve the safety and stability of Kiri and, ultimately, the world. I will not permit those who wield the bloodline curse to harm any more of my people, even if the only way to end that threat is through genocide. So that makes it okay to kill hundreds of innocent people? Naruto demanded. That's insane. What kind of sick bastard are you? I am neither insane nor sick. I merely recognize that in order to defend my people from the dangers of the ninja world I must be willing to make difficult choices. Yagura countered. I will destroy every single person who wields a Kekii Genkai if that is what must be done to protect the people of Kiri. I would gladly go to Konoha and kill every person you have ever loved, your friends, your family, and even strangers on the street who know nothing more than your name if I could save the life of one citizen of Kiri by doing so. When I became the fourth Mizukage I swore to protect the people of Kiri until the day I died, and I will uphold that oath. You're the one Kiri needs to be protected from. Naruto shouted, fury in his eyes. All that bullshit you just spouted about protecting Kiri at any cost might sound nice, but you've killed lots more of your own people than any of the threats you say you're defending them against. The murderous graduation tests, the Kekii Genkai massacres, all of it, it's killed loads more people than would have died otherwise. How can you know that? Yagura shot back. Yes, the ways of Kiri have been brutal, but it is only through brutality that we can gain the strength to defend ourselves. Kiri is a small village, we lack the numbers of Konoha or Kumo, and we can never hope to match the raw might of those nations. The only way Kiri can defend itself is by making our shinobi better than those from any other village. Only the strong can survive in the ninja world. The losers, the dead lasts, they're just worthless ninja who would die in their first real mission anyway, and probably get their betters killed trying to protect them in the process. Yes, my training methods are cruel, but we live in a cruel, heartless world. If Kiri's genin are not prepared to face that reality they will perish. I say the true cruelty is perpetrated by nations like Konoha which produce genin who are untrained and incapable of facing the harsh realities of ninja life. At least the death I bring is swift and merciful. It's because of people like you that the shinobi world has so much violence in the first place. Several dozen of Naruto's clones rushed the Mizukage, determined to pound the man into submission. Yagura casually removed his hooked staff from its place on his back and held in both hands, then began casually twirling about the heavy metal weapon which looked as though it weighed almost as much as Yagura himself. A casual, lightning-fast sweep of the staff knocked aside many of the clones, and the Mizukage continued to inflict more casualties on the clones with his follow-up strikes. Even Yagura's dodges sent clones stumbling into each other, resulting in many clones dispelling each other when they collided. When the last of the attacking clones fell, Yagura turned to regard the much-reduced army of Naruto's. Is that really all you can do? Yagura asked. Just continue tossing clones at me and hope one of them gets a lucky hit in. Your chakra reserves will run dry long before you manage to inflict any significant injuries on me with such a simplistic strategy. I expected Konoha to train their only Jinchuriki better than that. Yagura's gaze drifted to the trio of experienced shinobi, who were still yelling at Naruto to fall back and let them take care of the fight. It is rather curious that they won't take direct action, perhaps they're waiting for the boy to wear me down first. Well, whatever it is they have planned, I should probably get rid of this Uzumaki brat so we can get down to the real fight. Suetun, tsunami shockwave. Yagura slammed a palm onto the surface of the lake, and sent a massive pulse of chakra into the water. Moments later a ripple of water rose up from the place where Yagura's palm struck, rapidly gaining speed and height as it traveled outward. By the time the tidal wave reached Naruto's line of clones the water far too high to jump over, and moving far too fast for the horde of orange-clad boys to have any hope of outrunning the wave or somehow dodging past it. The sound of dozens of Naruto clones shouting in terror and dispersing accompanied the crash of the tidal wave's impact. When the water receded, the clones were all gone, and the only enemy left standing was a single thoroughly soaked and quite battered Naruto Uzumaki. Much to Yagura's alarm, Mei and her two companions had disappeared along with Naruto's clones. So that's what they were planning. They wanted me to use a wide-area jutsu that would block my line of sight for a few seconds so they could disappear, then hit me from ambush. That could be problematic. All three of them could do a lot of damage if they managed to get past my defenses and land a full power attack. The three-tailed turtle can only do so much to keep me alive, especially when I'm still cut off from using much of its chakra by my disruption jutsu. A cruel grin made its way onto Yagura's face as he regarded Naruto. Of course, they made one mistake. They left the boy out in the open. Many of Terumi's followers are too soft-hearted. Someone will step in and try to save the brat's life, and at that point their plans for a sneak attack are ruined and I'll kill all of them. Yagura grabbed the battered boy by collar of his jumpsuit, and with casual strength hoisted him into the air with a single arm. The Mizukage reached into Naruto's equipment pouch and drew out a single kunai, and then placed the weapon against Naruto's throat. Any last words, Uzumaki? Exactly as Yagura had hoped, the threat to the young Jinchuriki drew his would-be ambushers out of hiding. With a smirk, the Mizukage cast the Uzumaki boy aside and turned his attention to Mei and the two shinobi accompanying her. Suetun, Water Cutter Jutsu. Several tightly concentrated bursts of water shot up from the lake and ripped into the three attacking ninjas, striking with more than enough force to rip the flesh from their bones. The Mizukage gave a grim, satisfied smile when his jutsu struck before any of his three attackers even had a chance to dodge, shredding their bodies and dropping Mei and her companions to the surface of the lake. And so it ends. You'd think so, wouldn't you? Naruto asked from behind the Mizukage, his words slightly unclear due to a series odd crackling chirps that seemed to be coming from the boy's general direction. But there are two things you haven't quite figured out yet. First, those people weren't Mei Terumi and her two little helpers. The three downed ninjas dispersed in the telltale puff of smoke that marked a shadow clone. And second, Yagura whirled around to face the boy. I'm not Naruto Uzumaki. Kakashi released his transformation jutsu, revealing his disguised form with a fully prepared Chidori in his hand. Yagura was only 3 meters away and off balance, far too close to react in time, and Chidori was all but impossible to block in any case. The Mizukage tried to dodge the attack, but rapid speed of Chidori's thrusting strike left him with too little time to get clear. Yagura did manage to avoid taking the blow straight through his heart as Kakashi had planned. Instead, the Konoha ninja's lightning-encased hand slammed into Yagura's right shoulder. The sheer force and penetrating power of the blow destroyed Yagura's shoulder and leaving the Mizukage's right arm uselessly crippled and barely attached to the rest of his body by a few bloody strings of flesh. The Mizukage quickly backpedaled away, putting some distance between himself and his attacker. Damn it! I was expecting them to use my area jutsu to disappear and hit me with an ambush, when really they used all of Uzumaki's clones to switch out the real one for one of the more dangerous ninja. That assassination jutsu is nasty. My right arm's useless for fighting or forming seals, but if I can hold out for a bit longer the effects of the suppression jutsu will wear off and the turtle will be able to heal my arm back into a useful state. Naruto, Mei, and the other disguised ninja burst out of their hiding places beneath the surface of the water and the three ninjas quickly moved to surround the wounded Mizukage. Mei made the first move, quickly utilizing one of her Kekiai Genkai. Yotan, Lava Bullet Jutsu. Before the woman could launch her globs of liquid hot magma at the wounded Mizukage, Yagura dived to the side, taking himself out of the line of fire. Half a second after his near-instinctual dodge, the Mizukage noted two important facts. Mei was not smiling, and she had not produced any actual lava bullets. Yagura's dodge brought him perilously close to the cloaked ninja and, just as the Mizukage realized he was in a perilous position, the man announced. Futten, Acid Mist Jutsu, and unleashed a wave of vapor from his mouth. Yagura howled in agony as the acidic fumes burned his skin, and staggered out of the cloud of caustic fog, only to find himself a short distance away from someone wearing the form of Naruto Uzumaki once more. Instinct brought the Mizukage's right arm up to block the kick, but the shredded and acid-burned flesh refused to respond to his body's call, and as the boy's transformation jutsu released to reveal that he was the second of Mei's companions, a powerful kick caught Yagura right on the chin. The force of the blow lifted the Mizukage up off the water's surface, and the masked ninja leapt up to follow him. Yagura's eyes widened in shock when the man took up position right beneath Yagura, and bandages suddenly wrapped themselves around the Mizukage, prompting a scream of pain when they tightened over the Jinchuriki's ruined right arm. I do not have a hard surface to slam you against, so I am afraid I will simply have to improvise. The attacker amicably informed the Mizukage. Guy opened his second inner gator, and then slammed a series of powerful punches and kicks into the bound and battered Mizukage, Mist Barrage. The Konoha Jonin announced, congratulating himself on having the foresight to modify his attack's name so as not to give away his true country of origin. Yagura's burned, beaten, and shattered body plummeted back into the lake with a loud splash. Moments later the waters receded, as Yagura was no longer able to sustain the jutsu that had created the body of water after suffering so many severe and horrifically painful injuries. Slowly the broken Mizukage forced his battered body to stand once more, coughing up a lungful of blood as he returned to his feet. I will not dash. Yagura let out a sound halfway between a gasp and a groan as agony shot through his body. I will not let you win this fight. I will do whatever I must to defend the people of Kiri from your madness, Terumi. My injuries are terrible, but the worst of it will be healed if I just transform completely into the three-tailed turtle. The side effects of my suppression jutsu have almost worn off, but it will still be hours before Uzumaki can use his tailed beast. I'm at a temporary disadvantage that will go away in a few moments. I can still win. Just shut up already, asshole. Naruto shouted at the beaten Mizukage, drawing out a kunai and pointing it at Yagura to emphasize his point. We've already kicked your sorry ass, and if you don't give up right now we're gonna finish the job, bastard. You really are taking this much too personally. A faint smirk made its way onto Yagura's face. Doesn't Konoha teach its shinobi to be disciplined? From the way you act, it's like I've done you some personal injury. Perhaps the boy has family among the rebels I've killed. It would explain why he's here fighting me instead of back in Konoha where he belongs. Naruto's stance relaxed by the slightest of margins, and the boy quietly declared. You know, ever since I was a little kid, I've wanted to be the next Hokage. A lot of people think I won't ever be able to do it, 'cause I'm not some sort of super elite genius or something, and since I'm a Jinchuriki most people would never accept me as a Kage anyway. Then, when I heard about you I thought maybe I had a chance after all. If Kiri would accept a Jinchuriki as their Kage then Konoha probably would too. But then it turned out you were just a psychotic asshole, and it's because of jerks like you that all the other Jinchuriki like me have to deal with so much shit. Naruto glared at the Mizukage, his face drawn in a furious snarl. No matter how much jerks like you mess up my life and Jinchuriki look bad, I'm still gonna become the next Hokage, and then I'm gonna protect Konoha from assholes like you who would hurt everyone there. Sorry to disappoint you, Uzumaki, but you will never have the chance to become the next Hokage, because you and these rebels you've thrown your lot in with are going to die here and now, at my hands. Yagura reached out for the power of the three-tailed turtle. While the disruption to the three-tailed turtle's chakra network had mostly faded, it was still difficult to draw on the turtle's power, and the process disrupted the flow of chakra within Yagura's body. For a brief moment, the flow of chakra between Yagura and the three-tailed turtle came to a complete halt, and then suddenly resumed in a massive burst. As he regained control of his raging chakra and turtle's power began to flow through him once more, Yagura felt a moment of confusion and, for the first time in years, doubt suddenly sprang into his mind. Were the Kekii Genkai massacres and the bloody graduation ceremonies really necessary to keep the people of Kiri safe, or had he gone too far? Had his determination to keep his people safe from the dangers of the shinobi world somehow become so twisted that he had harmed the very people he swore to protect? With slowly dawning horror, Yagura realized that was exactly what had happened. He had murdered dozens of Kekii Genkai wielders, hundreds of shinobi, mostly mere academy students, and thousands of civilians in the years since the rebellion of the Kagaya clan. What the hell was I thinking? None of this makes any sense. The Kagaya clan was a group of bloodthirsty maniacs, but they've been that way for long before their rebellion, and that's no reason to kill every person with a Kekii Genkai. The Kagaya revolt would have been far bloodier if the other Kekii Genkai wielders hadn't stepped in to contain the Kagayas, and I rewarded them by killing them all. Why did I do that? Unbidden, Yagura's mind shot back to his earlier conversation with Mei. She said I was under a Genjutsu, but how could that be? With the three-tailed turtle I'm immune to Genjutsu. The turtle can disrupt my chakra network the instant a Genjutsu starts to have any effect on me. There's no way a Genjutsu could ever. The truth struck Yagura like a sledgehammer. Of course. Genjutsu never work on me, so I ignored any evidence that I might be under one. All the warning signs were there. More than one of my advisors and close friends told me I was acting unusually, but everyone assumed it was the after effects of the Kaguya rebellion or me going mad with power, because everyone knows I'm immune to Genjutsu. Even when Mei told me I was under a Genjutsu, I didn't even bother to check or do a perfunctory attempt to dispel any Genjutsu that might be affecting me, because I was so certain I could never be affected by any Genjutsu. It was arrogance. I was so absolutely certain I was immune to Genjutsu that when one worked on me I was completely unprepared to deal with it. I can't think of any way a person could slip a Genjutsu past the three-tailed turtle unless they were able to control tailed beasts. If someone put a Genjutsu on the turtle and me at the same time, but who could have done that? The only other living person in the world who can control tailed beasts is Killer Bee, and he's never shown any indications of being that talented with Genjutsu. Besides, there's no way Killer Bee could slip away from Kyumo and all the way down to Kirigakure and into the Mizuki's office without somebody noticing. A Jinchuriki of his power is far too prominent and feared of a figure to be able to simply disappear for that long without many people noticing. So, who could have done it? I suppose it doesn't matter. In the end, if not for my arrogance and stupidity no Genjutsu would have worked, no matter how skilled the caster. I swore an oath to protect the people of Kirigakure, and I failed. Yagura felt the turtle's chakra pressing in on his body, flowing into his injured eyes and slowly restoring his wounded arm to a healthy, functional state. With a simple effort of will the Mizuki cut the flow of that chakra. I failed. I killed my people, their blood is on my hands. A smile made its way onto the Mizuki's face, and a moment later Yagura charged Naruto with as much speed as his battered but chakra-enhanced body could manage. The boy had no time to react, and Yagura's advance was right on target. The kunai in Naruto's hand plunged into Yagura's chest. The tempered steel blade slid easily between the Mizuki's ribs and into his heart. Yagura shuddered and reflexively gripped Naruto's shoulders, slumping against the boy and gasping out his final words. "Thank you, Naruto Uzumaki." The man's knees gave out, and Naruto, connected to Yagura by the kunai in his ribs, dropped with him. Become a great Hokage. Then Yagura, hero the Kaguya rebellion and fourth Mizuki of Kirigakure, died. Yagura's death shattered the morale of his army. Most of them fled the field entirely, and stragglers would drift back into Kirigakure for months after the battle. Others, like a half-crippled Chunin by the name of Saki Kato, had never been terribly loyal to Yagura in the first place, and almost immediately defected to the rebellion. There were a small number of holdouts who remained loyal to Yagura's twisted ideals despite the Mizuki's death, but they were a small fraction of the Mizuki's original force. Most of them fought to the death, but a few of the loyalists fled, swearing to carry on Yagura's cause. Kiri's hunter ninjas would spend several years tracking down the last of Yagura's remaining followers, most of whom had played a pivotal role in the Kekii Genkai massacres and Yagura's other atrocities. The rebel army, now almost doubled in size from defections, arrived outside the gates of Kirigakure the next day. By that time word of Yagura's death had already reached the city, and all it took was a promise from Mei that her army would not loot and pillage the village or murder its citizens to persuade the defenders to open the gates and stand down. Within 24 hours of Yagura's death Mei had taken up residence in the Mizuki's tower. While she had not officially become the fifth Mizuki yet, there was absolutely no doubt in anybody's mind that she would take the post, especially since only a few people knew she was not the person who struck the killing blow against Yagura. Mei needed credit for killing Yagura to solidify her position at the top of the new hierarchy, and if word ever got out that Naruto struck the killing blow, even though he had merely finished off a half-crippled Yagura who was probably near death anyway, it would bring all sorts of unwelcome attention down on the young genin's head. Before Mei could even begin to get settled into her new office Naruto Uzumaki sought her out. "Terumi-san, there's something I want to talk to you about," the boy said, his demeanor unusually solemn. The Mizuki's office was currently a barren room stripped of almost all its contents save a few chairs and a desk. Yagura's personal effects had gone into storage shortly after the rebels arrived in Kirigakure, and Mei was far too busy trying to re-establish order in the wake of Yagura's death and the rebellion's victory to worry about something as unimportant as a bit of interior decorating. Of course, Naruto-kun. Mei favored the boy with a fond smile. I am always willing to speak with one of Kiri's greatest heroes. Have you reconsidered my offer? Kiri could use a ninja of your skill, and I think the rank of Special Jonin far more accurately reflects your actual abilities than genin. Mei had not expected the boy to remain in Kiri once Yagura's reign ended, but after the prominent role he had played in the rebellion, even if he was mostly just a propaganda figurehead, she had to make a token effort to steal him from Konoha. Nah, Konoha's my home. Thanks though. Naruto declined the generous offer once more. Anyway, what I really wanted to talk to you about was Yagura. The boy hesitated for a moment, and then declared. I think there was something weird going on with him, like he was being controlled or something. Really? Mei's smile grew slightly wider, something that Naruto had begun to suspect meant she was actually worried or angry rather than happy. The less happy she is, the bigger her smile gets. Man, I really don't understand girls. And what makes you think Yagura was not in control of his own actions? Well, when I killed him he kind of, thanked me. Naruto answered. And Kakashi-san said that his Sharingan saw some weird stuff going on with his chakra flow, though he figured it was just from Yagura being a Jinchuriki. Plus, lots of people said he used to be a really nice Mizukage back before he went crazy one day and started killing lots of people. Anyway, I was trying to think why he would do something weird like say thanks to me for sticking a kunai in him, and between that and the fact that his chakra was acting a little off and how he started acting weird one day I figured that maybe the reason for every was that he was, like, under a genjutsu or something. I see. Mei remained silent for a long moment before making his decision. You are quite correct, Yagura was being controlled by an unidentified outside force. AO confirmed it several years ago by getting a good look at him with that special eye of his. You knew all along? Naruto asked. Well, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you ever try to break him out of the genjutsu? We did. Mei said simply. The jutsu affecting Yagura was extremely powerful and quite well made, all our efforts to free him failed, and the agents who tried inevitably died in the attempt. Like most shinobi, Yagura did not react positively to any ninja attempting to influence the workings of his chakra network without his permission. We tried for years to free Yagura, but we never succeeded and the entire time more and more innocent people were dying. I did not want to kill Yagura, but it was either kill him or let him continue to wreak havoc upon Kiri and kill hundreds of innocents every year. Yeah, I guess I've gotta agree with you there. Naruto admitted. It sucks, but killing one innocent guy's better than letting a bunch of them die, and I guess since he thanked me when he got free Yagura figures we did the right thing too. I hope so, and I am glad to know that he at least died as himself in the end. Mei agreed. As for why the rebellion never made Yagura's condition common knowledge, nobody would have believed you anyway. Naruto finished the woman's sentence, a thoughtful expression on his face. I mean, you guys are the rebels. Of course you'd say all kinds of stuff to make Yagura look bad. The young man frowned for a moment, then brightened and added. But now that you're in charge you can tell everybody the truth, right? I mean, people will probably be really happy to find out he wasn't some sort of bastard, he was just being controlled, right? No, I am afraid the truth about Yagura's condition will have to remain a secret for now. Mei told the boy. Noting his obvious displeasure at the news, she explained, Kiri just finished a long and painful civil war. We need to focus on healing our wounds and rebuilding Kiri as a single, unified power. That's why all but the very worst of Yagura's loyalists got pardoned for their actions under his regime, and why I am offering amnesty to most of the ninja who went during his reign. If the people of Kiri knew the truth about Yagura it would deepen the very divisions I am trying to heal, and it would give his remaining loyalists an excuse to oppose me. Also, if word got out to the other nations that Yagura was being controlled it would make Kiri seem weak, especially since we have no idea who was controlling him, and after a civil war the last thing Kiri needs is to give any foreign powers more reasons to think our nation is vulnerable to attack. Perhaps, once things have settled down a few years from now I can redeem his reputation, but for now the truth will have to remain hidden. Politics again. Naruto grumbled. Something every Kage has to deal with. Mei informed the boy with a rueful grin. The safety and security Kiri is far more important than a single man's reputation. If Yagura was still alive, I am sure he would agree that this is the right decision. Yeah, I guess. Naruto slumped down in his chair and glared down at the floor. Still sucks though. I mean, once all the people find out what Yagura did, they're gonna think Jinchuriki like me and Yagura are just a bunch of crazy monsters who go around killing people for the fun of it, and we're gonna be even more hated and isolated than we were before. What's really weird is, most of the things Yagura was forced to do don't really make any sense. It's almost like whoever was controlling him just wanted to make people hate and fear Jinchuriki by making him look like an out-of-control maniac. Perhaps, but if that was their plan, it has failed. Mei assured the boy. Once the situation in Kiri is more stable, Yagura's reputation can be rehabilitated, and until then people might remember Yagura's crimes, but they will also remember the brave young Jinchuriki that helped to free our people. Mei gave Naruto a brilliant smile, and then added thoughtfully. I think that, perhaps, having experienced both you and Yagura will give the people of Kiri a better perspective on Jinchuriki. Jinchuriki are not inherently noble, nor are they all monsters. Much like any other group of people, Jinchuriki can have wildly different personalities. Yeah, I guess you're right. Naruto agreed thoughtfully. I'm not really all that similar to Yagura, and I didn't have much in common with Niyujiito when I ran into her either. Really, aside from being Jinchuriki, the three of us are pretty much completely different people who don't have anything in common with each other. You know, I had been thinking of trying to meet up with some of the other Jinchuriki since I figured we'd have a lot of stuff in common. But, well, we don't really, so I guess there's no point in bugging them. The boy gave a careless shrug, and then suddenly bolted up in startled realization. Crap, I told Gai-sensei I was only gonna say a quick goodbye before we went back to Konoha, and now I've been talking with you for way too long. Sorry, gotta run. Wait, Naruto. The new Mizukage called out. Before you leave, there's one last thing I need to give you. The woman beckoned the boy closer. What's that? Naruto asked curiously. Maybe she found some of Yagura's secret jutsus for dealing with tailed beasts. That one he smacked me with was pretty nasty. Nah, they haven't had time to go through all his stuff yet, so it's probably not that. Hey, maybe it's like, a year of free ramen or something. That'd be awesome. Whatever it is, it's probably pretty neat. The boy trotted back across the room to Mei's side, eagerly awaiting his prize. Much to the boy's shock, instead of presenting him with some sort of gift, Mei leaned over, kissed him on the cheek. On behalf of the people of Kirigakure and all of Water Country, thank you, Naruto-kun. Know that whatever happens, you will always have friends here. As soon as the boy realized what Mei had just done, he began blushing furiously, and self-consciously ducked his head down, muttering. It was no big deal, Mei-san. With a nervous chuckle, the boy added. Anyway, I gotta go now, so, well, bye and stuff. The overwhelmed boy practically fled the room. Mei smiled at Naruto's departing form, delighted by the effects a simple kiss on the cheek had upon the boy. A few moments later Ao entered the room, a small folder full of papers in his hands and a rare smile on his grizzled face. You ought to take it easy on that though. He's probably gonna end up having a huge crush on you after that. With a shrug, the man continued. Then again, it might be useful if Konoha's Jinchuriki likes you. We might be friends with them now, but who knows what might happen 20 years from now. That kid's gonna be a powerhouse when he grows up. Having be a little loyal to Kiri and the Mizukage on top of his hometown might be useful to us. Of course. Mei agreed with her subordinate's reasoning, before adopting a mischievous smile. Besides, I like Naruto-kun, he is a delightful child. Yeah, he's a pretty good kid, looks a little too soft and nice on the surface, but I wouldn't want to deal with him when he's really pissed off. Ao opened up his file and quickly sorted through the set of papers. Most of this is just stupid administrative crap I'll stick some stupid chunin with, but there are a couple things you probably need to deal with. First off, the Genin Academy needs a new name. I'm pretty sure you don't want it named for Naoko Oshiro anymore. You are quite correct. Mei declared coolly. Yagura built that poisonous bitch up into some sort of martyr after I killed her, and I hardly want her name to be remembered in anything like a positive light. The smile on the new Mizuki's face as the harsh words slipped out of her mouth was enough to disturb the normally unflappable AO. A moment later May was back to her normal self, idly drumming her fingers on the desk as she pondered the next matter of business. What to rename it then? I certainly won't name it after myself, that's just gauche. May's eyes drifted out the window, and she saw a familiar orange jumpsuit rapidly making its way towards Kirigakure's gates. How about the Naruto Uzumaki Genin Academy? May suggested. AO considered the proposal for a moment, and nodded in agreement. Makes sense, name the school that trains our genin after the genin that helped liberate our village, seems quite appropriate. AO made a quick note of the academy's new name, and then rifled through his papers for the other item, finally producing another sheet of paper. Here we are, apparently there's some sort of clan problem you need to deal with. Did he just say I have a man problem to deal with? Something about an arranged marriage. AO added, unaware of his impending doom. Arranged marriage? Man problem? What the hell is he trying to pull? I might be a little old to still be single, but that's because I was busy leading the rebellion. AO. May said in a deceptively calm voice. Shut up or I'll kill you. What did I do? AO wondered, mystified by the woman's sudden mood swing. Hey old man, how you been? Naruto greeted the Hokage. Guy had already finished delivering the team's official report on their mission to Kiri, and now it was just the young boy and old man alone in his office. The boy had been a very polite and proper genin while his sensei and two other jonin were present, but now that it was just him and the old man alone the boy felt that there was no reason to restrain himself. Quite well, Naruto. Hiruzen answered, humoring the boy. Hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. Naruto declared. I've been thinking a lot lately, and I decided, well, I think you ought to get rid of that law that says people can't talk about how I'm a Jinchuriki. Are you sure about that, Naruto? The Hokage frowned down at the young genin. That law was put into place to prevent any trouble with your peers. I know it was less successful than I hoped, but I don't care. Naruto cut the Hokage off. I know it might mean a lot of them won't like me, or maybe they'll be scared of me at first, but they're gonna find out eventually anyway, and the sooner they do the more time they'll have to get used to it. Besides, I've been thinking, and I bet part of the reason people are so scared of Jinchuriki is that they don't know much about them except for scary rumors and stuff. I mean, I didn't even know much about them until I ran into Yujito and Yagura. So, well, I think that even if it means I won't make any more friends, then it's better for people to know the truth. Besides, Tenten-chan and Bushy Brows were still my friends after they found out, so maybe other people will be alright with it too. The Hokage considered Naruto's request, and slowly nodded in agreement. It is your secret, so if you are certain this is the course you wish to take then I will do what I can to aid you. When Naruto confirmed his wish to abolish the law protecting the secret of his status as a Jinchuriki, Hiruzen gave a sharp nod. Very well then, the next group genin is graduating in a week or so, I can have Iruka tell them as part of their final lessons. I will do what I can to ensure your fellow shinobi have the situation explained to them by knowledgeable people. Some of the villagers have very inaccurate notions about what a Jinchuriki really is. Thanks, old man, Naruto said solemnly, before jokingly adding. You know, for a dried-up old fossil you're not half bad sometimes. Thank you, Naruto. The Hokage answered dryly. With a slight smirk, Hiruzen added. That reminds me, there was one other matter I wanted to discuss with you. Guy mentioned that he ordered you to stay out of the fight with Yagura, and yet you participated in it anyway. The Hokage fixed Naruto with a stern glare. I seem to recall you specifically promised to obey all of Guy's instructions during this mission. Naruto gave a nervous chuckle and began rubbing the back of his head. Well, yeah, but that wasn't my fault. I mean, when I went after Yagura the fox was pretty much in control of my actions and, well, that means that you can't really blame me for. Naruto trailed off, and gave a defeated sigh. I'm gonna be cleaning up other people's crap in the sewers with Bushy Brows and Tenten-chan no matter what I say, right? As far as most of the village is concerned, your recent activities in Water Country were officially unsanctioned. Hiruzen answered. Of course, the concessions we gained from Kiri are impossible to hide, and I am quite certain most of the shinobi strongly suspect you were operating with my approval, but in order to maintain the pretense that Konoha is not meddling in the internal affairs of another village, certain measures will have to be taken. The Hokage smiled and added, "The fact that you actually did something deserving of punishment is simply a happy coincidence." "Ah, man, more of this political crap." Naruto grumbled, folding his arms across his chest and pouting. "If everyone knows what I did and that you're cool with it, then why do we have to pretend that I was running off on my own without your permission? There is a substantial difference between letting people suspect that you were operating with my approval and openly admitting it." The Hokage pointed out, "So, it's like that time when I pranked Mizuki-sensei, and most people figured I did it, but since nobody could prove anything they couldn't actually punish me?" Naruto asked. "I suppose that is a reasonably accurate comparison." The Hokage agreed. The political sphere is built upon a combination of subtlety and willful ignorance. The situation is not dissimilar to what you faced after Yujito's attempt to kidnap you, so long as a plausible lie is presented. Other nations will pretend to believe it so long as the truth is sufficiently inconvenient. "So that means I gotta clean out the sewers." Naruto grumbled. "I kinda understand why things have gotta work out that way, but it still sucks. Life is quite often unfair, Naruto. However, you will not be cleaning Konoha's sewers with your teammates. I have something different in mind for you. I am afraid you will find it substantially worse than simply cleaning the sewers." Knowing Naruto, half the toilets in Konoha would back up and explode if we let him loose in the sewers anyway. Before the Hokage could elaborate on Naruto's new assignment, there was a quick knock on his door, and then a Chunin entered and set a massive pile of paperwork down on Hiruzen's desk. "Man, I know I wanna be the Hokage one day, but having to do all that paperwork's gonna suck. Hee, stinks to be the old man right now." Before Naruto could comment upon this fact, Hiruzen gave him an entirely too cheerful smile and declared, "That was well timed. You can start on your new duties right away, Naruto. Fill out these forms. It should not take you more than 2 or 3 hours. "Do what?" Naruto asked as his mind struggled to process this unexpected turn of events. "Are you saying my punishment duty is to be stuck in your office doing a bunch of paperwork and other stupid, boring crap like that when I could be outside training or hanging out with my friends?" "Yes," Hiruzen answered. "Instead of going on active duty missions, you will be serving as my administrative assistant, at half pay of course, as we agreed before your mission to Kiri." Naruto's involvement with the rebellion was a little more public than I would have liked. Keeping him out of the field for a few months should help restore him to relative anonymity. "Ah, you can really be mean sometimes, old man." Naruto whined. Tenten and Lee had expected there to be trouble when Naruto went public about the fact that he was a Jinchuriki. Naruto had not been popular when their peers didn't have any clear reason beyond their parents' disapproval to hate him, and they expected things to get worse once the truth was out. The Hokage did what he could to lessen the negative impact of the news. The village's academy teachers and Jonin sensei received long, detailed instructions telling them exactly how to inform their students of Naruto's condition, and even shinobi who actively disliked the boy were not about to risk the harsh punishment for openly disobeying the Hokage's orders. Still, there were ways to follow the letter of the Hokage's orders while violating their spirit, and ninja were naturally skilled in exploiting such loopholes. Among the academy students, Naruto's reputation did not suffer nearly as much damage as it did elsewhere. The Hokage could act with total impunity within the academy, and Hiruzen had set the instructors to providing an all-day lesson on Jinchuriki that debunked several widespread but entirely false beliefs about demon hosts. After Mizuki found himself stripped of his post at the academy and reassigned to punishment duty for objecting to the lesson plan Hiruzen imposed upon the teachers, the remaining instructors made every effort to fulfill the Hokage's wishes. However much the academy teachers disliked Naruto, keeping their jobs was more important than their grudge against the boy. Some, like Irika Yumino, had not even needed the threat of punishment to do what they could to support the boy. Contrary to the Hokage's control over the academy, Jonin sensei were traditionally allowed to rule over their genin with a high degree of autonomy. While Hiruzen would have been well within his rights to interfere in the internal workings of any ninja team, such a blatant display of authority would provoke a great deal of resentment within the ranks, and would probably make things worse for Naruto than if the Hokage did nothing at all. Fortunately, Kurenai would ensure that her new team would treat Naruto well due to the Jonin's experience with the young Jinchuriki and Kiri, and Asuma Sarutobi, son of the Hokage, was also taking charge of a new genin team and agreed with his father's opinion of Naruto. If Kakashi's new team actually managed to pass his infamously difficult qualifying exam, something that seemed more likely than usual since Sasuke Uchiha would be on the team, then that would give Naruto at least 3 genin teams whose instructors were friendly to him, and would encourage their students to hold the boy in high regard. Naruto's current assignment as the Hokage's assistant insulated him from the worst of the gossip in the village, and Hiruzen made it very clear that he would not tolerate anyone being openly disrespectful of Naruto or attempting to attack him verbally or physically. Rather than encouraging new trouble, news that Naruto was a Jinchuriki had frightened many of Naruto's peers. Several of Naruto's former classmates feared that the demon host might hunt them down to avenge the mockery he endured at the academy. Unfortunately, fear of Naruto's retaliation and the Hokage's protection simply caused people who wanted to lash out at the boy to find someone else to target, and far too many people knew that Tenten and Lee were Naruto's Uzumaki's closest friends. Lee gave few indications that he even noticed the newfound disdain some of his peers held him in. Much like Naruto, Lee had faced exclusion and mockery for his poor performance at the academy, and the fact that Lee had gone on to become as eccentric as Guy hardly improved his popularity. Much like Naruto, Lee had no real friends outside of Team Guy, so he hardly noticed the fact that some of his peers glaring at him for being friends with Naruto. Tenten, on the other hand, had generally gotten along with her fellow shinobi. Fortunately, most of the genin who took the news that Naruto was a Jinchuriki poorly had already been hostile to the boy to begin with, and thus, so far as Tenten was concerned, their opinions were not worthy of consideration. In response to the occasional expressions of hostility, the girl grew even more defensive of her friend than usual, and Lee was very relieved when Guy showed up in time to stop a brawl from breaking out when Tenten overheard another genin team talking about Naruto. While Lee would not hesitate to defend Naruto's reputation against insults and threats, ever since the news that he was a Jinchuriki came out, Tenten had become prickly when anybody mentioned his name, and often perceived an attempt to insult her friend where none had been intended. While there was a degree of tension with their fellow shinobi, the worst trouble for Naruto's teammates came from the civilian populace of Konoha. While the shinobi who disliked Naruto mostly limited themselves to giving Naruto and his teammates the cold shoulder and disapproving glares, the civilians were neither disciplined enough to hide their dislike nor as conditioned to obeying the Hokage's orders, even when they disagreed with those orders. As Naruto's best and most well-known friends, Tenten and Lee found themselves subjected to much of the treatment he had suffered at the hands of the villagers. While there was nothing overtly provable, the civilians had no shortage of ways to make the lives of the 2 genin slightly less pleasant. Cleaning the sewers as part of their punishment duty was nasty enough when half the village was not trying to come up with creative ways to make their job even worse. And Tenten could not believe just how much more disgusting the sewers had gotten in the last week. The side effects of sewer duty also gave the villagers a plausible excuse to engage in overt action against the 2. Attempting to go almost anywhere in public would produce loud complaints that both of them stank, and they were often denied service at restaurants or shops on that account. While a long day of sewer duty did leave behind a uniquely horrifying odor, both genin bathed thoroughly at the end of every workday, and it was obvious to both that claims of a foul odor following them around were simply an excuse to lash out at Naruto's teammates. While coldness from their peers and disdain from the villagers was to be expected, the rare positive reactions to the news caught the 2 off guard. One day when Tenten ran into Irika, the academy instructor spoke approvingly of her continued friendship with Naruto, saying that he was quite proud that she stuck by her friend after learning that Naruto was a Jinchuriki. Tenten and Lee were also pleasantly surprised when the owner of Konoha's yakiniku restaurant provided them with a free meal. The man explained his unusual generosity by mentioning that he had family in water country. One day, while Tenten and Lee were enjoying a meal at the yakiniku restaurant before subjecting themselves to yet another day of unpleasant sewer duty, 2 young academy-age girls sat at a nearby table, and Tenten realized that not all of the positive reactions to Naruto's condition were good. Poor Naruto-kun, he's an orphan and he's got that nasty demon sealed inside him. Sure, he acts all happy, but you can tell that deep down he's in so much, he's such a sensitive soul. The first girl, who had an impressive mane of chestnut brown hair, gushed to her companion. He's an orphan, and so many people in the village are so cruel to him because he's got the 9-tailed fox sealed inside of him. It's not far. He's just waiting for the right girl to help heal his wounds and show him after all the pain there's someone willing to love him and help put him back together again. The girl sighed wistfully and gazed out the window. No, 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 you've got it all wrong. The girl's companion, who had short blue-black hair, insisted. Naruto-kun's not like that at all. He's a free-spirited rebel who only follows his own rules and doesn't care at all about what society thinks of him. That's why he used to be such a prankster. Plus, having the nine-tailed fox sealed inside of him makes him so dangerous, it could break out of him at any moment. And he's so aloof. Sure, he seems like a nice, open guy, but when you think about you realize you don't really know anything about him. My parents hate him. The other girl's smile took on a distinctly mischievous light, and Tenten suspected that, so far as the girl was concerned, the disapproval of her parents was one of Naruto's more attractive qualities. Lee, am I going completely insane, or are they, fangirling over Naruto? Tenten stared at the two in dull shock. It would appear that they are, Tenten-san. Lee informed his companion. I suppose everyone is reacting to the news about Naruto-kun's condition differently, though I will admit I expected more hate and fear and less of. Lee trailed off, and waved a hand in the general direction of the two girls, that, Lee, I don't think you understand what's going on here. Tenten informed her companion, an expression of shocked disbelief on her face. Naruto Uzumaki has fangirls. He used to be the worst student in our class, even you had better grades than him. And now he has fangirls. Two of them. And they're arguing over whether he's a broken bird who needs to be nursed back to health or a wild and dangerous free-spirited rebel. This is insane, I agree. Lee informed his teammate earnestly. While his youthfulness does drive him to seek his own solutions over the wisdom of others, Naruto is far too considerate of others and cares too much about his friends and comrades to be a true free spirit. On the other hand, while there has been unpleasantness in his life, Naruto has long since dealt with the neglect and disdain less enlightened individuals treat him with and, as I am sure you are aware Tenten-san, he neither needs nor wants to be nurtured. With a smile, Lee concluded. Naruto is just a classic nice guy. Lee, you're missing the point. Tenten groaned, massaging her forehead with a single hand. It's not about what type of guy Naruto is, it's the fact that he's got fangirls in the first place. It's just not natural. Why not? Lee asked in genuine confusion. Naruto is a nice guy and a brilliant ninja, it is only natural that Konoha's female population would notice that sooner or later. But this is Naruto we're talking about. Tenten insisted, trying to make her companion understand. I mean, I can understand why people like Neji Hyuga and Sasuke Uchiha get hordes of girls fantasizing about them. They're good-looking top-ranked ninja, and they're both from major clans. And they have the aloof Mitsuru guy thing working for them. Naruto doesn't have some high-ranked family backing him up, he's definitely not some sort of cool elite type, he's more cute than good-looking, and before I stepped in to help him out he used to be the worst student in the class. The volume of Tenten's voice gradually rose over the course of her statement, and by the time she was reminding Lee of Naruto's status as the former dead last she was almost shouting. Naturally, any sort of negative comment about the object of their admiration attracted the attention of Naruto's budding fan club. Hey! Naruto-kun only got bad grades at the academy because all the teachers were jerks who were biased against him. No, Naruto-kun got bad grades because he was far too cool to care about what a bunch of stupid instructors at a stupid school thought about him. He probably went out and practiced in secret where nobody else he could see him after class. The girl's companion insisted, alternating between glaring at Tenten and smirking at her friend. Do either of you even know Naruto? Tenten demanded. Because it sounds like you're just taking a bunch of traits that have nothing to do with him but match up with what your idea of the perfect boyfriend is, and then you're projecting them onto Naruto. Oh yeah. The girl who seemed enamored with the concept of Naruto as a free-spirited rebel shot back. And what would you know about Naruto-kun anyway? Tenten-san and I are Naruto-kun's teammates. Lee supplied helpfully. Well, if she's on his team then why would she be saying he's not a very good ninja? The other fangirl insisted. It doesn't make any sense unless, oh, I think I see what's going on here. The girl shot Tenten a nasty smirk, and declared, sorry, but if you've been on his team for a whole year and he still hasn't noticed you then I think it's time you stepped aside and let someone else have a chance. Maybe if you didn't look like you've got a pair of meatballs stuck on top of your head you'd have gotten his attention by now. Everyone knows that Naruto-kun likes girls with long, womanly hair. The girl ran a hand through her impressively long mane of hair to emphasize her point. No, that's Sasuke. The girl's short-haired companion insisted. Naruto-kun likes girls with short hair, because it proves that they're practical and serious kunoichi. Of course, you were chasing after Sasuke until you found out about Naruto-kun, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised that you've crushed on so many different boys that you can't even keep them straight. The girl eyed her companion and declared contemptuously, "You're such a slut sometimes, bitch." The long-haired fangirl screeched before slapping her rival for Naruto's affections. Whore. The short-haired girl struck right back, and the two were soon engaged in a fight that seemed to involve a great deal of hair pulling and clawing, and none of the ninja skills one would expect from a pair of recent academy graduates. "Lee, if I ever end up like that, please do me a favor and kill me," Tenten requested, watching the first two members of Naruto's fan club in dull horror. "I always thought there was something a bit unusual about Uzumaki's chakra system." Niji Hyuga murmured to himself. "I suppose having the nine-tailed fox sealed inside of him would explain that. And that must be how he was able to beat Masaru." Miko crowed, a nasty smile on her face. The vicious scar that ran down her jawline from her left ear to her chin, the legacy of an encounter with a rogue ninja 3 months ago, made the expression particularly unpleasant. While she had filled out in the year since graduation, Miko had not been particularly attractive before her face had been marred, and her short blue hair did nothing to conceal the scar. He must have been using some sort of demon power or something. "I knew he was cheating. That was last year, Miko, just let it go already," Masaru told the girl, weary resignation in his voice. The large boy ran a hand through his short brown hair and sighed. "I was fine with losing the match 5 seconds after it was over. I really don't understand why you want to make such a big deal over it. Your continuing obsession with the outcome of that match is wearying." Niji agreed. Miko really does prove that people can't change their fundamental natures. Even after everything she's been through, she's still the same whiny, annoying loser with a huge chip on her shoulder that she was in the academy. "But it's the only explanation that makes sense, Masaru," Miko insisted stridently. "How else could he have gone from being the dead last to beating one of the best students in the class in a single month? If he's got the nine-tailed fox sealed inside of him, then he's probably got all kinds of demon powers and stuff, right? I did not notice Naruto using any sort of demonic abilities, just standard academy jutsu and some creative sneakiness," Masaru declared with a shrug. "If he was using some sort of unnatural powers, I'm pretty sure somebody would have noticed that, and even if he did, his victory was still legitimate. Ninja are supposed to use all of their abilities in sparring matches. Nobody cares about making things fair in a real fight." "Well, if he wasn't cheating, then how did he beat you, Masaru?" Miko scowled and crossed her arms over her chest. "Naruto won his match with Masaru because Naruto is a genius," Niji responded coolly. "What?" Miko shouted, taken off guard by Niji's sudden declaration. "Naruto Uzumaki, a genius? Have you gone nuts, Niji? Think about it." Niji chastised his teammate. Most of the instructors at the academy didn't do a proper job of teaching Naruto because they resented him for being the host of the nine-tailed fox. However, as soon as Tenten provides him with a bit of basic tutoring, he shoots up through the ranks in a matter of weeks. If class rankings were based on an objective evaluation of pure combat skills at the end of the year rather than a weighted average of academic and practical performance over the course of the entire year, Naruto would have been in the top 5. That was with 1 month of tutoring from a fellow student as his only real education. Even when the biased instructors of the academy did everything in their power to hamper Naruto's education, his natural genius ultimately won out. It was simply destiny. "You know, maybe Niji's got a point," Masaru declared speculatively. "I don't know if I'd call Naruto a genius, but his skills did grow at a remarkable rate after Tenten started helping him. Considering how much Naruto's abilities improved after a month of tutoring from Tenten, he must have had a lot of natural potential." Masaru grimaced and gave a humorless chuckle. "So much for my hopes of winning a rematch. I can only imagine how good he'll have gotten with a year's worth of training from a Jonin sensei. It's no wonder he seems to be making himself into a living legend outside of Konoha. Don't tell me you believe all those stupid rumors about him going off to water country and helping to overthrow the Mizukage," Miko declared disdainfully. I mean, I know Kiri's a shithole of a country, and it figures Uzumaki would get mixed up with them, but he's still just a genin, and his team hasn't even gone to the Chunin exams like we did last month. There's no way he could have done any of the stuff people are talking about, even in a crap country with crap ninjas like Kiri. If Naruto had gone to the Chunin exams, he wouldn't have gotten his team thrown out in the first round by calling the Kazekage a stupid fucking asshole. Masaru grumbled. Well, the Kazekage is a stupid fucking asshole. Miko said defensively. What kind of moronic jerk would come up with such an asinine idea for the first part of the exam? Granted, you had valid concerns about the Kazekage's nature, and the task set for the first round did seem a bit irregular, but did it ever occur to you that blatantly and loudly insulting the Kazekage when one of the Suna ninjas proctoring the exams is standing just a couple meters away might not have been prudent? Masaru asked the girl, a slight hint of bitterness in his voice. It had taken the team 3 days to travel to Tsunade for the Chunin exam, and enduring the long journey only to end up being disqualified before the exams even got properly started because of his teammates' foul-mouthed non-existent diplomatic skills was enough to frustrate the normally placid Masaru, even a month after the fact. What, was I just supposed to ignore the fact that the test was so blatantly biased in favor of Suna? Miko shot back. Really, how is a desert survival test fair? They live in the middle of a freaking desert, but nobody else has any experience dealing with that sort of test. Plus, all the tests were set up so Genjutsu types wouldn't have a chance against of passing. He's probably one of those people who thinks that Genjutsu users like me are a bunch of ninja who can't handle themselves in a real fight. I really don't understand why you use Genjutsu so much in the first place. Masaru told the girl. You're not very good with it, and Sensei said you don't really have the chakra control of the intelligence to ever become a great Genjutsu user. You really ought to focus on ninjutsu instead. Our sensei has been telling you to do that ever since he did that test with the chakra paper. I don't want to use ninjutsu. Miko snarled, an ugly expression making its way onto her face. I like using Genjutsu. I know you're not one of those people who thinks that Genjutsu users are a bunch of weaklings and losers, but Sensei is. He must be, as much as he tells me to quit focusing on it and switch to ninjutsu. Miko is a weakling and a loser, so if someone were to judge all Genjutsu users by taking her as an example, there's no point in arguing about what happened in Tsunade again. Niji told his teammates, we've got 5 months until the next Chunin exam, and this time it will be in Konoha, so at least we won't waste a week traveling back and forth to the exam site if anything goes wrong. Besides, this exam looks like it should be much more interesting anyway. Most of the genin except for the Suna ones looked weak. Come to think of it, the fact that none of the other villages sent many good candidates supports Miko's belief that Suna has designed their exams to ensure that Suna's ninjas do better than the competition. Then again, from what I've heard about previous Chunin exams in Konoha, a forest survival test is a fairly common feature of our exam. Plus, maybe Uzumaki's team will be in the exam this time, so Masaru can finally have a rematch with Naruto and set things right. Miko offered. Or hey, maybe I'll just kick his ass myself. Yes, because fighting a battle against a natural genius who we've just discovered has incredibly natural advantages over other shinobi thanks to being a Jinchuriki sounds like a brilliant idea. Masaru said sarcastically. After all, he beat me with nothing more than a month of basic tutoring and whatever bits of knowledge he got from the academy's lackluster instruction. Now that he's had an entire year of proper teaching from one of the best jonin in Konoha on top of that, he definitely doesn't stand a chance against me. It's just destiny. Niji informed his teammates. Masaru is an above-average shinobi, but he still can't hope to stand against a prodigy equipped with the natural advantages that all Jinchuriki hold over normal ninjas. Only an equally gifted and talented ninja could hope to stand as an equal opponent to someone on Naruto Uzumaki's level. A gifted and talented ninja like you? Masaru asked, glancing at his teammate curiously. Exactly. A tight smile made its way onto Niji's face. I could match Naruto's genius with my own, while the Byakugan and Gentle Fist give me an advantage equal to that of the enlarged chakra capacity Jinchuriki are supposed to have. It will be interesting to match up against someone who just might be my equal, not to mention that defeating a Jinchuriki would demonstrate that the branch family has grown strong. I still can't believe you think Naruto Uzumaki is some kind of genius. Miko scoffed. From the way you go on and on about destiny and fate and how people are all born with a certain degree of skill they can never move beyond, I expected you to say Naruto was still a loser and he'd always be a loser. Hell, you tell me that I'm a loser all the time, so why does Uzumaki get special treatment? You really should just stop your pathetic whining. Niji told the girl, a hint of annoyance in his voice. Naruto Uzumaki is not a loser like you. Just accept your inevitable destiny as a failure, and stop wasting everyone's time by pretending you have the potential to become a skilled kunoichi. You are such an asshole, Niji. Miko shot back venomously. It is a simple truth. Niji told the girl, meeting her rage with bored disdain. The only reason you refuse to see it is that your pride stands in your way. Rather than accept that you are a failure, you continually blame others for your own shortcomings. Even when a mere rogue genin nearly killed with a single attack and left your face permanently scarred, you tried to blame me for your own incompetence. You are a loser, and you will always be a loser. It is your destiny. Just like it is my destiny to defeat Naruto Uzumaki and force the main family to admit that the branch family has surpassed them. Ah, come on, old man. Naruto whined, glaring hatefully at the, to all appearances, horrendously disorganized mountain of paperwork piled on his small desk in the Hokage's office. I could finish up all this stupid paperwork in 5 minutes if you just let me use my shadow clones to do it. If I finish up all this stupid paperwork, I could get back to training, or maybe go on some real missions. Sure, the old man lets me train in the mornings and evenings, but I'd be getting even stronger if I didn't have to spend the entire afternoon in his boring old office. No, Naruto. The Hokage told the boy. Not after what happened last time. You're just lucky you managed to dispel them before there was any damage, or I would have taken the cost of repairs out of your pay, and you can't really afford that with how little I'm paying you right now. Hey, that wasn't my fault. Naruto complained. How was I supposed to know a couple of them would get bored after just a couple minutes and, well, you were there, you know what they were gonna do. Indeed, I'm just glad you were able to stop them before the daimyo's wife came in. Hiruzen told the boy, carefully controlling his urge to chuckle at the memory. Exactly. Naruto cried out. I had it all under control. In the end nothing happened and nobody saw anything, so you should let me use my shadow clones again. No, I don't think it would be wise to risk a repeat of that incident. Hiruzen told the young man. One Naruto is too much to handle sometimes. I don't think my office could survive having a couple dozen of them around on a regular basis. Even if the simplicity and high chakra requirements make it perfectly suited to Naruto, sometimes I really regret giving Kakashi permission to teach him the shadow clone jutsu. What if I just used a couple clones? Naruto suggested. That way I would be able to keep an eye on them, so none of them would get out of line like happened last time. Perhaps a compromise then. Hiruzen offered, pulling out several envelopes. I do have some messages I need delivered. Your clones can take care of that while you stay in here doing paperwork. But I don't want to do paperwork anymore. Naruto whined. I've been stuck in this stupid office all freaking day. Kages are supposed to be patient and disciplined. Hiruzen reminded his young charge. Yeah. Naruto grumbled. Man, once I'm the next Hokage there's no way in hell I'm gonna do any of this stupid paperwork crap. I'll have a bunch of minions that'll do all the boring stuff for me. Naruto grimaced when realization struck. Kinda like what the old man's got me doing now. Damn it, I'm a minion. Before Naruto could think any further on the matter, Asuma Sarutobi entered the Hokage's office, accompanied by a trio of young ninja who looked like they were around Naruto's age. Heh, looks like they put together a new Inoshikacho trio after all. I guess that figures with how their parents are such an awesome team and all. Naruto glared at the cigarette clamped between Asuma's lips, and waved a hand in front of his face to emphasize his displeasure. Why do all you Sarutobis gotta smoke all the time? Naruto complained. The place stinks bad enough with the old man's pipe, we don't need you getting in on the act too. I just know any day now Konohamaru's gonna start smoking too. Even though he's still a little kid, it's like everyone in your family's gotta have their tobacco fix all the freaking time. Konohamaru's a funny kid, but he really ought to give up on trying to take down the old man. Even if he's all old and stuff, the old man's still pretty badass, and Konohamaru's just a brat without any real ninja training. You know, since he's still pretty awesome even now that he's old, the old man must have been really freaking awesome back when he was young. "Oh, hello Naruto." Asuma called out to the boy cheerfully. "My father's still using you as his paperwork bitch, administrative assistant." Naruto growled. If the boy was honest with himself he would admit the disrespectful term for his job was rather amusing, but only when it was applied to people other than him. "It's an important job, the old man wouldn't be able to keep Konoha running if I didn't keep all this stupid crap straight for him." "Yes, your organizational skills are obviously superior," Asuma said dryly, his gaze lingering on the chaotic mess of paperwork covering the boy's desk. "How did the Hokage ever manage to rule Konoha for several decades without you?" "Alright, so maybe the old man's not completely helpless without me," Naruto conceded. "But he still does a lot better now that he's got me helping him, 'cause I'm awesome like that." Waving a hand over the mound of chaotic paperwork covering his desk, the boy declared, "The only reason this all looks like a giant mess is because you just don't understand how cool my system for organizing all of this stupid crap is. I can find anything you need in 5 seconds. "Oh really?" Asuma asked, struggling to keep a straight face. Getting Naruto wound up was far too simple, and always provided a bit of amusement. "Well, perhaps you can find a mission for my team then." "What, you already did their qualifying test?" Naruto asked. "They just assigned graduates into teams this morning, so it must have been a pretty crappy test if they've already finished it." Turning to the newly formed Genin team, Naruto smirked at them and declared, "Man, you guys really lucked out. Guy-sensei nearly worked my team to death when he did our qualifying exam." "Oh, I wouldn't say they have it too easy," Asuma told the boy. "The bell test is a nice way to evaluate their abilities, but this time I decided that it might be interesting to try something a little different. Instead of just doing an examination, doesn't it make more sense to test their skills by seeing how they do on an actual mission?" Turning to his father, Asuma said, "I don't want them to think I'll go easy on them, so maybe you should give them an A-ranked mission just to show that I'm serious." Ino and Choji paled at the suggestion of undertaking such a difficult mission, while Shikamaru sighed and grumbled under his breath about troublesome senseis and pain-in-the-ass missions. Well, Hiruzen drew out and lit his pipe, prompting more grumbling from Naruto about the tobacco addiction that all members of the Sarutobi family seemed to share. "I am afraid I just assigned the last of the A-ranked missions today, but there are still some D ranks left." The old man glanced at Naruto and gave a slight smile when he declared, "I imagine Naruto has something suitable in that horrible mess of his." "It's not a mess, I have a system," Naruto whined. The boy took a moment to ponder over the matter, and then reached into one of the many mounds of paperwork and pulled out a scroll with a large D stamped on it. "Heh, can't believe that freaking cat ran away again. If it wasn't such an evil little furbag I'd almost feel sorry for it." Turning his attention to Asuma's Genin team, the boy announced, "This one ought to be good. The Fire Daimyo's cat ran off again, and someone needs to get it back. The Nara clan's Shadow Grabby Jutsu and the Yamanaka Mind Swap Jutsu ought to be pretty handy for catching and subduing the cat. It'll bite and claw the crap out of you if you let it. The Akimichi Growing Jutsu could be handy for catching the cat too, as long as you don't squish it. Sounds like a good enough mission, and I suppose I won't have to worry about them all getting killed like I would with an A-rank mission," Asuma declared, feigning reluctance at accepting the mission. "New Genin teams are supposed to lose 2 out of 3 members in their first year, but I suppose we can catch up with the statistical averages later." "Yeah, which one do you think is gonna survive anyway?" Naruto asked, struggling against the urge to laugh at the new Genin. By this point Ino and Choji were starting to look a little nervous, though Shikamaru seemed to be ignoring the conversation and looking out the window at some clouds. "Scaring the new guys is fun, and there's a pretty good reason for it. We want to make sure they're taking things seriously after all. Sure, right now it's just cat chasing and errands, but soon they'll be in fights where people could get killed, and if they think being ninjas is still a game when things start getting serious then some of them might end up getting killed for real." Asuma walked over to the boy's desk and took the scroll Naruto was holding out for him. Naruto took advantage of the Jonin's proximity to whisper, "Hey, Asuma-san, how'd your team take the news about me being, a Jinchuriki? I hope it went over alright. I don't really need everyone in my age group hating me on top of all the adults." "Why ask me? They're standing right there." Asuma took the scroll, and then turned to face his new apprentices. Hey, do any of you have a problem with Naruto being a Jinchuriki? If you do, you had best speak up about it now. Shikamaru's gaze shifted from the window to Naruto, and after a moment's consideration, the boy gave an apathetic shrug, and then returned to his cloud gazing. Choji followed his best friend's lead, shooting Naruto a friendly smile before pulling out a bag of chips and proceeding to shove them into his mouth by the handful. In contrast to the apathetically friendly reactions of her teammates, Ino marched straight up to Naruto's desk and looked him over with a critical eye. Just when Naruto's initial nervousness at the girl's blatant evaluation began to fade, Ino clenched her fist, cocked it back, and shouted. "Naruto, you jerk, I'm gonna kick your ass." Naruto yelped in fright and quickly crossed his hands over his head, closing his eyes and waiting for the blow to come. When several seconds passed without the girl's fist connecting, Naruto hesitantly opened his eyes to see Ino smirking at him. The girl seemed to be quite pleased with herself. "Yeah, he's still the same old Naruto," the girl announced cheerfully. "If the nine-tailed fox was in control of him, there's no way he'd be scared just by me yelling at him like that. And people were saying I should be scared he might eat my soul or something because I yelled at him one time back when we were at the academy. Nah, I only eat girls' souls when they're brunettes or redheads." Naruto deadpanned, though the smirk on his face gave him away. "Besides, the Hokage complains whenever I eat people's souls in his office, 'cause then there's so much blood and stuff to clean up, and I already had a couple bowls of ramen for lunch today, so I'm not really hungry." When did Naruto learn about sarcasm? The Hokage wondered. Ramen was a delicious, wonderful thing, especially when it was not just any ramen, but Ichiraku ramen. For several years, Naruto had been absolutely convinced that ramen was the best thing in the world, until he discovered something even better. As wonderful as hot, fresh Ichiraku ramen could be, no amount of ramen could compete with the joys of friendship. To make things even better, Naruto did not have to choose between ramen and friends, he could have both at the same time. At least until Tenten or Lee started complaining that they were sick of eating ramen and wanted to try something different. Hanging out at Ichiraku's, gobbling down bowl after bowl of ramen, while chatting with Lee and Tenten was quite possibly Naruto's favorite thing in the world. Fortunately, he still had enough money to be able to afford his visits to the ramen bar, especially since he had still had money left over from the extra pay he had gotten for mission where they ran into Yugito. Only 2 more weeks left cleaning the sewers before Lee and I can go back to doing proper missions. Tenten let out a groan that was equal parts anguish and relief. "I never want to have anything else to do with sewers for the rest of my life. They're horrible, filthy, stinky, and just all around disgusting." "I have to agree with Tenten-san," Lee declared earnestly. "I am quite eager to leave the Konoha sewers and return to missions that provide the opportunity to stoke our fires of youthful energy." Turning his attention to his other teammate, the young clone of their sensei asked. "Naruto-kun, when will you be able to rejoin us? Ever since your return we have had far too little time to act as a team." "Ah, man, I don't know," Naruto whined. "The old man's been saying that I might be stuck on punishment duty all the way up to the Chunin exams. Although I guess it's not all bad, sure, the work sucks, but I get to see the old man do a lot of Hokage ing. Sometimes he even asks for my opinion, or lets me make some really little decision like picking out which D-Ranka Genin team's gonna do. That's gonna be good practice for when I kick his sorry old ass and become the next Hokage." "Well, I suppose that makes sense," Tenten commented. "We just left the village for a bit because we were worried about you, while you ran off and joined a group of rebels from another village. You even brought back that slashed Kiri headband you were wearing while you were there, like it was some kind of trophy or something." The girl shot Naruto an angry glare, and then sighed. "I'd ask what the hell you were thinking when you did that, but I'm quite sure that you were being your usual, stupidly noble self. I suppose I should just be grateful that you came back, and that the Hokage isn't doing anything worse than sticking you with a desk job for a couple months as punishment." "Yeah," Naruto agreed with the girl unenthusiastically. "I mean, I knew I was probably gonna get in trouble with the old man for hooking up with the rebels, but when I saw how bad things were in Kiri I couldn't just sit around doing nothing, especially since the guy who was responsible for all the bad stuff that was happening was a Jinchuriki like me. Man, it stinks that I can't even tell Tenten-chan about the fact that I was following the old man's orders." And even if I could tell her that everything I did helping the rebels in Kiri was alright, I'd still have to lie about Yagura, because otherwise it could cause trouble if the news ever got back to Kiri. I don't like having to lie to Tenten-chan. Tenten sighed and dropped her head into her hands. Naruto, you can't go running off to save people every time bad things happen to them or something goes wrong. That's just the way the world works. I know you were just trying to do the right thing, and it obviously worked out pretty well since you came back in one piece and Kiri has a new ruler now, but you can't just do that kind of thing all the time. One day you're going to run into someone who's too strong for you. Imagine what would have happened if you had to fight the 4th Mizukage while you were working with the Kiri rebels. Well, what was I supposed to do? Naruto shot back. Just sit on my ass and say, it's not my problem, when people were dying and they needed help. Tenten sighed again, then looked over at the boy and shot him a weak smile. Yeah, I guess you couldn't ever do something like that, could you? The girl threw an arm across Naruto's shoulders, and then reached up to ruffle the boy's hair. I swear, someday you're going to get yourself into more trouble than you know how to deal with, and then I'm going to have to save your ass again. Hey, last time that happened I ended up saving your ass, Tenten-chan. Naruto reminded the girl with a smirk. True, but the only reason my ass needed saving in the first place was because I got into a fight with a special Jonin Jinchuriki while trying to save your ass. Tenten replied, matching the boy's smirk with one of her own. So, that really shouldn't count, because it was all your fault anyway. You're just trying to dodge the fact that I saved your ass. Naruto crossed his arms over his chest and scowled petulantly at the girl. It's not my fault I'm so much more awesome than you are, Tenten-chan. Naruto smirked, and then added, I can understand why you might be jealous though, sometimes I can't even hear myself think over the sound of how awesome I am. No, you can't hear yourself think because you're an idiot. Tenten teased. The girl rapped her knuckles against Naruto's head and declared. See, your head's hollow, no brains at all. You're mean, Tenten-chan. The boy pouted. Hey, just because you're an idiot doesn't mean you've stopped being my best friend. Tenten assured the boy. The fact that you always want to stupidly rush in and do the right thing is one of your better traits. Tenten paused for a moment, then admitted, well, it would be if it didn't scare the crap out of me and make me worry so much about you. You worry about me? Naruto asked, his tone turning slightly more serious. Of course I do. Tenten told the boy. You are my best friend after all. Besides, if I'm not around to keep an eye on you then you'd probably end up getting yourself into all kinds of trouble. I mean, look at what happened just a while ago. I let you out of my sight for a couple weeks and you're running around joining foreign rebellions and toppling long-established rulers, and that's just what I know you've been up to. Tenten grinned at the boy and declared, with as much trouble as you're constantly getting yourself into, I'm probably going to be stuck keeping an eye on you for the rest of my life. Heh, yeah, I guess you will. Naruto agreed with a self-deprecating chuckle. Geez, I'll bet that even when I'm the Hokage you'll still be running all over the place trying to nurture me and stuff. Well, someone has to take care of you. Tenten reminded the boy. And since nobody else seems to be volunteering for the role I suppose it's up to me. Tenten grimaced, and then added. Well, unless you'd rather have one of your new fangirls take up the job. I still can't believe there are girls chasing after Naruto. I mean, he's a nice guy once you get to know him, but he's not the type to attract shallow girls who aren't interested in anything besides a pretty face and their own childish fantasies. Naruto felt a twinge of nervous fear when he saw a less than pleased expression make its way onto Tenten's face when she mentioned his budding fan club. Man, Tenten-chan looks kinda scary. I guess she really doesn't like the idea of other girls chasing after me. I think I'd rather have you around than any of the girls who say they've got a crush on me. Most of them only seem interested, 'cause of the nine-tailed fox, and not because they actually know anything about me anyway. Good answer. Tenten said, an enigmatic smile making its way onto her face. The girl glanced down at her half-filled ramen bowl, and then slid it over to Naruto. I'm full, you can finish my ramen off, Naruto. The boy needed no further encouragement to begin gobbling down the precious nectar of life that was Ichiraka ramen. Naruto had just about finished Tenten's leftover ramen when 4 more people entered the ramen stand.